like that, we are back. This is another week, another episode of Unpacked, brought to you by the To Be Fair Show and
the G Shit Podcast.
It doesn't matter how you feel.
And shout out to all the homies with jobs and the end of the month push that's going. So we'll have a couple panelists pulling up a little late, but nonetheless, we are here with the fun one, a good one, an interesting one. We're going with part 2 of our series about the American divide, which is the problem with conservatives and the right. And yeah, we're going to, again, hop in, talk through nuances, just have a good conversation overall. But before we get into that, I would love to toss it. Again, I am your friendly fence-sitting moderator, Q. Have 2 in the panel at the moment. We're gonna build it slowly. G, talk to him.
What's good, everybody? It's G, host of the G Shit Podcast, where we focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and fuck everything else. Check that out wherever you get your podcast at GSHPOD. Ha.
And below him, our favorite, the group chat legend. Some call him David Walker, some call him FBA Trey. Some call him whatever they like to call him. Trey, what do you want them to call you?
Man, just call me Trey. Just here for another opportunity to intellectually spar with the homies. Looking forward to another good one. Gotcha.
And yeah, again, with that said, we'll hop into some parts of the conversation. We did have a fun icebreaker, if I can find it. Nonetheless, Trey, I actually think that this was an icebreaker brought to you by us. Brought to you by you. Do you remember the exact wording of it?
I can't say I remember the exact, but I have a pretty quick. I could sum it up with just saying, like, what were you talking about? The one we were saying, is there like a smear on black men by the media, and then should we follow that up? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah. Let me see. I think that yes. Are we? Damn, I can't remember. Hey, y'all fellas. This is live show, and sometimes we kind of have to get to it. And with that said, I believe that the icebreaker was when it comes down to black men or black people in general. Sometimes do we over accuse or excuse bad behavior just due to race? So I guess with that said, we can start with you, Trey. What is your thoughts?
Oh yeah, man. It's like one of our biggest issues. We don't have any mechanism to really punish people that harm our community, like some other people do, like how they did Candace Owens. Like, she talked all that trash about us, and then she said one thing about the 1948ers, and that it didn't take very long for that to be handled. And then we also don't have. So what?
I said, what got handled?
She got the boot. They're about to boot her off YouTube too, and she's all we can do is make her racially homeless, and we can't even get enough of us to even agree on that. Like I
thought that she was like having like her best little run right now with the whole like the whole Kamala shit and all that.
I mean, she might get a little. No, this is election season, so I mean, she might
like she running it up.
But I mean, she lost her. She was on like Ben Shapiro. She was like had a
she got kicked off of the Daily Wire because of her comments about the emoji that you like to send.
Oh yeah, and they demonetized her her YouTube channel too. Ever she went there. So
is it demonetized?
Yeah.
Maybe it is. Oh yeah, I think she pushes the traffic, maybe to Twitch or some shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so she's getting that punishment, and it's too bad that we don't really have a mechanism within our community to punish people that same way when they harm us. And not only do we not have the mechanism to punish people, we also don't have the mechanism to to defend ourselves either. So when there is a person that's getting drugged through the mug, like look at Hugh Hefner compared to Diddy. Like Hugh Hefner had free calls all the time, underage stuff, people like essaying women all the time, all kinds of allegations. They had like bodies they had to clean up. You have all the stories, but he's like the Playboy images. I mean, his household, celebrated. It's, people get the tattoos, all that. He's a hero in their community. But Diddy, like, look at how he's treated, even though he's not any worse than Hugh Hefner. And then even like people.
But do you think that that's excusing bad behavior still, though?
What do you mean?
Shouldn't? So if you're saying that they both were doing essay, they both. And you said clean body, so like there was some version of, death happening. They both were dealing with underage people. I don't think freak offs are like a illegal thing, but we'll say like the sex trafficking part of that. Shouldn't it not be that we should hold Hugh Hefner more accountable instead of saying that we should excuse P. Diddy for being held accountable?
Well, I know this is like a sensitive topic, and my perspective, I'm like tunnel vision on the bigger picture, and a lot of times these nuances,
which is excusing it.
No. My bigger picture is white supremacy, and when I see injustice as far as us being overly criminalized. Like it can on another example of this is even like the crack epidemic, how they had mass incarceration versus the opioid epidemic, or how they like to talk about black on black crime, but we don't talk about there's a certain demographic that's always doing these school mass deletions. So it's like we pathologize black criminality, and we do all kind of specials, and then we turn a blind eye to other criminality, which I'm not saying we shouldn't punish black criminality, but what I think is even worse than ignoring black criminality is only focusing on black criminality while everyone else gets away and we get to become the face of criminality.
So you think that currently the best plan of action would be just not speaking about black, like anything that black people might do that are harming our community, harming minors, harming groups of people, might possibly even be killing. And
no, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay,
what I'm saying,
so are you saying that we should use our voice to talk about what other people are doing also?
No, I'm saying put Diddy in line. He needs to be prosecuted.
Okay, so you're cool with everything that's being said about Diddy. Okay,
I would love for us to handle that internally, honestly. But when we start presenting people for the dominant side to handle, Diddy can be in line, but he needs to be in line.
How would we handle underage sex trafficking and sexual assault and killing internally?
The same way we handle stuff like that in the neighborhood. Put the beats on them the same way they handle like we can hold each other accountable.
So you don't. All right. So I guess. So maybe are you saying that you don't believe that you should go to jail for sexual assault? And
how did you get that out of what I said?
Well, that's what SA means, and that's what SA dealing with minors, and killing people. Like the things that, like some of the things that are in extortion, like some of the things that he's accused of. And then you said that we should handle that internally by putting the beats on him, in which that would then denote, to me, it would seem like that doesn't mean like we should just beat him up instead of him going to jail.
Look, I don't know all the answers, and I'm not going to say that I know exactly how we should handle him. But what I do know is that if there is a line of people to get dealt with by the dominant society for the same crime, I'm sick of black people being at the front of that line. Diddy can be in that line, but we can't just skip everybody else, because it also seems like whenever
he dead though. I mean, he can't be in the line. This nigga dead.
Man, what about Epstein? Do you think that like is Epstein did get dealt with, right? And Weinstein, like the Steens, they
not
be getting,
really. They had this whole flight list, and then
those are the other people. No,
but they didn't get
Epstein
dealt with.
got put in jail,
but they didn't get dealt with. But there's a lot of people in the dominant society that didn't get dealt with, and a lot of things that Diddy does, these corporations do all the time. Diddy didn't do anything. Like Diddy didn't invent any of this. So for Diddy to be the face of it when he's not even the top dog, that's white supremacy and that's racism.
But wouldn't you say you would? So you wouldn't say that Epstein is like comparable to Diddy?
Not at all, because Diddy messed with Epstein like focused on like children.
Do you think that they kept Epstein quiet and like the dominant society didn't like castigate him and think that was wrong? And
man, I think
I'm trying to understand like what you're saying,
bro. I think Congress is a freak off, and then they don't get prosecuted.
Well, I don't think freak offs are illegal.
I mean, would they talk about this baby oil all the time with Diddy and like try to drag his name to the mud?
Well, that's the character assassination part. But I think that what he's charged for is all like the guns and the extortion and the possible SA and the possible drugging and the possible minors and things like that.
And I also want to put another disclaimer. When I say that the dominant society, like they make us the face of a lot of this stuff, and then they like to prosecute us and turn a blind eye to their own crime, I can't really blame the dominant society, because I blame more like people that fail to recognize that we're being treated unfairly, and then we'll just joke about it. We'll talk about, oh, just let them like what you're doing right now. Talking about, well, we need to hold them accountable.
What am I doing?
You are talking about like making me sound like I'm trying to excuse Diddy when I'm telling you my point.
I'm asking you what you're doing, and then I'm asking you what should be done. I haven't accused you of anything.
I mean, but the line of questioning is making it sound as though I'm trying to like I approve of Diddy's behavior, and I don't. I don't approve of anything Diddy did. I think
so.
Diddy
What do you think should be done? So
I think
he should be punished. He should be jailed, right?
Yeah. But at the same time, for him to be the only person, not the only person.
So that just means that you also think that other people, even more the other people outside of Weinstein and Epstein, should also be prosecuted, correct? Right? Not that he shouldn't and that it shouldn't be, but they also should.
I mean, I think that's putting it very lightly, but that pretty much.
So how would it be a better way that you would want to put it?
I think that we have a backlog of people who aren't black. I think we've kind of OD'd on punishing black people. Like they shouldn't get away with it, but I think we've gotten the big culprits. But as far as the dominant society, we have been ignoring that they've been getting away with a lot of this stuff like the Nickelodeon guy. Like I want to see the same energy they're putting on Diddy needs to go to the guy who was messing with those underage people on Nickelodeon. We all know it happens in Hollywood, the casting couches and all that stuff like that. I even met this man I met that was a model. Like she was too young to be doing that, and she was talking about the predatory stuff that was going on behind the scenes there. And then they don't ever get punished. But we have an endless line of black people who get punished for that exact same thing. And I'm just like, enough is enough with that. I'm not saying that what the black people
you think that black people are the I'm about to say, you think black people are the face of like pedophilia in Hollywood and extortion?
Yes, bro. They talk about R. Kelly, Diddy. They talk about OJ with the killing. They talking about
you said who?
Bill Cosby. They talk about Tory Lanez.
But these are separate. These are all separate, bro. Like
and you can kind of run more than that with white people.
Tory Lanez is going for some gun-related silly shit. R. Kelly. I mean, this nigga. His allegations are what they are, and then you talk about like R. Kelly, Cosby, Diddy. They're not really all one and the same. They really kind of got their own flavors of freaky ass niggas. They not the same archetype. And also, if that's the long list, that's not an endless list of black men going down for this, in my opinion. That's like a handful.
Yeah, it's also kind of
okay.
They don't seem weird to put that on. Like black men are known for deviant sexual behavior in the public. I don't think that black men are known for that. But is that? I'm trying to. Yeah, but that sounds like what you're saying. That the public paints us as like sexual deviants with that yield power or some shit like that.
We're drug dealing thugs.
I guess we agree to disagree because, you know what I'm saying, even the whole Me Too movement where that lady, the Caribbean lady was talking about, they at
White
first it
men.
started, no, at first it started with about Weinstein, and then she started talking about a lot of these black actors and all this stuff because they even
But it
asked
was
her,
mainly white actors
not the black people that were
and
bringing up black.
comedians.
Nah, not the black woman that was talking. Tarana Burks. She wasn't focused on white people doing this. She was bringing out black people. Even Oprah was friends with Weinstein, but she bring out Michael Jackson to talk about him.
Well, Michael Jackson wasn't during the Me Too movement. But are you saying that the Me Too movement was based primarily around black men?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying
To me, it
started
seemed
out
like a black Hollywood expose of white men doing freaky shit.
a
Like
black
the Hollywood and comedians. It was like both of them, like those two worlds.
Oh, give me an example of
Like Louis C.K.
No, that was called out by a black woman.
Are you all right? So you're just saying that black woman is calling out black men,
Yes.
but not the majority of the movement. But that specific black woman is calling out black men.
Yes, and then the white women called
well,
out
I'm
white
sure
men
that
and black women, and white men called out black men too.
Okay.
I don't know. Hold up. So real quick. So what y'all are saying is there isn't a disparity when it comes to singling out black men for smear campaigns. You're saying that that's not how it happens.
Not for smear campaigns. I don't know if I disagree there. They're going to smear a black man, period, any chance they get, regardless of the charge. I would agree.
I don't think
with
it was
that.
like Me Too though. I don't think Me Too was the big one.
Well, you get into the weeds.
I'll agree that the way the media is covering Bill Cosby, the way the media is covering R. Kelly and covering Diddy is probably different than what it would be if it were a 1-for-1 white male equivalent in their same industries, right? Like, because like, you know, the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch just got caught up with some federal charges with sexual trafficking and all this other stuff, but it was like a headline for not even really 24 hours, and it's not really carried by the news, but this is a CEO of one of the biggest clothing brands that kids have been wearing for decades, right? Like, so, but that doesn't get talked about as much. So but he's also not a figure with the same notoriety as Diddy. We don't know the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch by name, and we will walk by him in the street 20,000 times and wouldn't know that was the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch. Diddy walks anywhere in America, we know that's Diddy. Bill Cosby walks anywhere in America, we know that's Bill Cosby. So if it were another, say, white man who had the same notoriety, I do
Louis
think
C.K.
But Louis C.K. I think got treated a little bit differently than
he got kicked off of everything. He pretty much his comedy career ain't really recovered yet. He had to even drop his specials on his own website.
I agree, but the media didn't flame him up though the same way, in my opinion. He lost business and everything, but I don't think he got flamed up with his reputation the same way black folks do. So I can agree that media will make things worse for a black person, but I'm not going to sit here and say that those black people specifically make a long, endless list of black men being disproportionately targeted for sex trafficking, because I just don't think that's really our bag.
Okay, can you stay right there for a sec? So you said you recognize that the media does treat black people differently. Like it's racism in the way that they blow it up when a black person does something not in a way different than when other people do similar crimes. So if you stay right there, so the court system also does the same thing, right? We don't get, or no, you're not going to sit here and tell me that the court system treats black people fairly.
No,
I don't think anybody would make that statement.
Okay.
The thing about the court system, though, especially when you start talking about federal charges, it's not like county court, my nigga. It's federal charges. These charges don't even come to exist unless they feel like they have a clear-cut case, because they are either going to get you to take a plea or get you to, or they're going to run the trial and they're going to win. They have a 90+% conviction rate when they bring these cases up. So when you get presented federal charges, I don't know if the federal, now I do think federal government will use certain charges to target certain communities, i.e. they created the RICO for the Italian mafia, since used that to target gangs in other ways to try and bring down gangs. So like that is true. But even that itself is not so much based just off of race. That's also based off of like money, basically. So like from a court perspective, if you've got bread and you can lawyer up, you can be OJ. Like that is more of a reality when it comes to your day in court. Court, when it comes time to actually face the trial, it's not as much about what you look like versus what you can afford. You can get the right lawyers. You can pay to get the.
You can make the argument that that's systemic as well, and like that's where we can find like we can find points of agreement. Same way, like I said, I do believe that black, and if we want to go specific, black men are stigmatized in the media as well, right? But to me, and going to what you had just asked, I believe that the court system isn't primarily specifically fair for black men, because that was the other point that you were making, correct?
Yes.
So that's another point of agreement. We all agree. I believe G agrees with that as well. So I think that we're all in agreement there.
But G made it about class though. But I got you. G made it about class. Like he was saying that it's based on money, because if you can afford a defense, then you get like you get treated differently. But nobody can afford the treatment that Kyle Rittenhouse got. Like even the richest black man in the world can't get a judge to basically work as your lawyer for you, and along with the media and all that too. And he was just a poor, like
a violent crime with a gun. There's no question. We agree. But I'm talking about for sex trafficking. Like that's not really something that they use to target our communities. Now, look, if you want to say white people get away with gun violence more than black people, and that's viewed, no pushback there.
What about the Mann Act? What about the Mann Act, which is a law, the white sex trafficking law that they used against R. Kelly, that they created against Jack Johnson because he was messing around interracially, and they created that law just to attack him. And the same, I think the FBI was brought about during that time too, to combat him. So that's an example of a law that was created to target black people that they're still using today.
Yeah, but if we use that logic, all of these laws from the start, like where you use to target us, every law that's on the books, like at the end of the day, when Jack Johnson was dipping his toe in the sweet white nectar, he knew he was doing something that his white counterparts wouldn't have appreciated. You know, he didn't have the same luxury as say somebody like you who could dip your toe freely into the sweet white nectar. Jack Johnson had to really put his life on the line to get those snow bunnies. So he's a real true, like you should get a Jack Johnson poster and put it up behind you, because he really is part of the reason why a lot of these niggas out here now can go on the slopes and ski a little bit. But
I mean, the real reason is a black woman in Loving versus Virginia, because the black woman took the white guy to the Supreme Court to fight for all of our right to do that. But I get your point.
Oh, so you're saying, so a black woman fought for the right for interracial dating?
Exactly. In Loving versus Virginia.
That's good. So that is a positive thing that black women have done for the black community in your eyes, right?
I don't.
You got to say yes. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, I don't think it really worked out for them, and I think it might. But you think it's going to work out for black men?
It's almost like no, because I would prefer for people to procreate more black people, but at the same time, I don't.
So you would prefer if only black could date black men?
I wouldn't necessarily say that, but what I'm saying is that up until that decision was passed, only black men only had, like, we didn't have any options. We only had one option versus black women. They had different options. White men, they had different options. White women, they also didn't have any options. Like, we were both, like captive audiences. So I guess I do like the idea of freedom. So it is good that she did that, but I'm not going to say that I look at championing interracial marriage as like one of my top priorities. Like, she gave black men didn't have any options until a black woman. And
who gave black man options?
Mildred Loving of Virginia.
That's a white woman or a black woman?
An indigenous black woman.
Gotta be with a name like Mildred. What'd you say it was Mildred what?
Loving. Loving versus Virginia was a Supreme Court case.
And so how did that case give black men options now?
Because she and the white guy sued the government to say that interracial marriage, policing that is unconstitutional. And then they won. I think that was like in 67.
So she got the black man options on behalf of what she did for the white man.
With the white man, but I don't know. I don't know if she did it for
her white king.
I think she did it for herself.
She did that for her and her white king.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
we can thank a white king and his black queen for giving black men options.
I guess if you want to put it that way. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's an interesting space to end that part of the conversation at. But nonetheless, I'll throw it to you, G. Do you excuse and or accuse bad behavior based off race?
Never.
Expound. So do you think let's just use black people for example, say where we're at. Do you think less of a black man if he does a crime than a white man?
No.
Do you excuse a black man for a crime, even if it's the same one that a white man has done and that white man has got away with?
Nope. Who excused crime? Nobody on this chat even. I don't even understand why you.
I mean, like it wouldn't be because they were black. Like I can excuse, but like some crime I don't think is criminal. So it's like when we say like crimes, some stuff is people will do things based off of their environment.
We'll be a good baseline to put this at, so we can get out of the weeds of like what some crime is. Some crime could be smoking weed, and we all be like, nobody should, right? In comparison to if we say assault and battery, or let's say murder, we could say sexual assault. Better yet, that'd be an easy one.
It's no excuse. No excuse. Like no excuse.
Okay.
You just missed. Bro, I brought this up because I was talking about do they disproportionately accuse black people? Are black people targeted? Are black people smeared? I never said should black people be excused. So I don't even know. Like, it's kind of a weird. I don't judge.
I don't think black people are disproportionately targeted for sexual assault. I don't think that. I do think they are disproportionately targeted overall by the criminal justice system, and I do think they're disproportionately targeted when it comes to other crimes that tend to fall, like non-violent crimes, mostly drug offenses, missing child support, shit like that. Niggas get locked up because they pay that child support. Like, it's all types of silly reasons that I think they lock black people up for way more than they lock up other communities. I agree with that 100%. I just wouldn't plant my flag on that point when it comes time to talk about a Diddy or a Chris Brown or R. Kelly or any of these other men who, like, let's not plant the flag there to make this point about how black men are mistreated.
Bro, so you don't think that in the entertainment industry they're constantly labeling black men as some sexual deviants and then destroying their reputation and taking all their money? You're saying that there's no trend of anything like that?
I've seen it happen a couple of times, but is that a trend? Like where like because it happened to the people that we're talking about, is that a trend for all? I mean, because the industry is predatory by nature. So Diddy himself was taking advantage of his artists and preying on his artists contractually. Like it's all predatory.
They put it on Diddy, Tupac. They put a crime like that on. They're talking about Jay-Z with that. They even mention some stuff with Beyonce with that whole thing. But they definitely say Jay-Z.
But they're living. Nothing's been taken from them.
Nothing's been taken from them yet. But in the past, we've had. They said
Russell
the same
Simmons
thing about
out in Bali. He got out.
Got out. I mean, he didn't.
He's living a marvelous life out in Bali.
That's not getting out clean, bro.
He owned a whole hotel out there. That's pretty clean.
He got ran off out of America, bro. He had to flee. to a place that don't extradite. I don't know if that's getting out or winning. Like he
still comes back though. He still visits. He's not like he's not like don't come back to the U.S. He left and it's not hot for him no more. Like I'm just saying he got out.
They put this on Bill Cosby. Bro, if I sat down for a minute, I can give you like 20 names of black entertainers who
But how long?
But
how long did it take for them to get Bill Cosby?
Bro, it took when he wanted to buy Columbia Records, and then like they have stuff on people, they keep it in their back pocket, and then when you do something to rock the system, they bring it out, and then all of a sudden, the same thing with Diddy when he sued that liquor company. So we agree.
It's not a long list. It's like anybody in the entertainment industry. If you want to work in this industry, you will be a pawn to some degree. Like they're going to make you get down or lay down if you want to continue to work in this industry. Otherwise, you got to be like fully independently operated, and you're going to be like Dame Dash, basically. Like no allies, no support, just what you can build, your own infrastructure, etc. Otherwise, you got to play in the sandbox in the entertainment industry. That's just how it is.
That's true, but it's fake outrage, and the goal that they have is to drain the resources and then get it back to the dominant society. And what they do is they weaponize our innate morality and goodwill to where we don't want to. If you call out the bigger picture and say that they're just trying to use white supremacy to drain his pockets, then all of a sudden other black people say things like, oh, so you're excusing the bad behavior? It's like, no, I'm not excusing the bad behavior, but I recognize the finesse and I see it happening again. And the only reason they're able to do this is because we, instead of recognizing the finesse, we try to get into shaming people for thinking about this from the bigger picture. That's all I'm trying to say. I don't know. It probably still didn't even hit home, but so Michael Jackson in the chat. Yeah, they're going to keep running the same play until we stop it, is my point. And then we're just acting like, what play? They're not running the play. It's like, bro, come on, dog. Like, I don't know if it can be any more obvious what's really going on. Nobody's really mad at them about being deviants. They're the biggest deviants, but they frame us as deviants, do a smear campaign, drain the resources, run them through court. Then all of a sudden they have all the masters. They have the what they call it, the estate. And that's why Tupac's estate is owned by, the dominant society, bro. And it's like, and then we are like, well, he shouldn't have been being bad. Bro, the people that own this estate were doing just as bad. Like, was what I'm saying not making sense? I got you.
G, do you want to respond?
It's cool.
Nah, I mean, look, I'm not saying what you're saying don't make sense. It's just, I don't think we agree.
I got you.
Okay. All right. So I guess I will at least attempt the alley-oop and see. We had a fun conversation in the group chat.
And Diddy made all these niggas vote Democrat too. I'm surprised you supporting him like that. But
and then he switched up. He started switching up in the end, talking about.
Oh, so y'all still on this? All right.
I just didn't realize that getting everybody to vote or die Democrat that Trey would like really have a lot of respect for a nigga like that.
But that's the other part of the pattern that y'all are failing to recognize. Because Diddy used to do that, right? And I think once he realized his case was on him, that's when he started talking about having an all-black party, and he wasn't pushing the Democratic note anymore. He started asking more difficult questions. And I think at that point, it's too late. You can't tap dance, and then when they come after you, try to stop tap dancing because we see what you did. But at the same time, like when Bill Cosby was trying to buy NBC, Diddy was suing the people for racism, trying to start talk about making a black party. Michael Jackson wanted to own all the masters. Whenever a black person is trying to do something big and rock the boat, they put a case on them. Instead of black people seeing the bigger picture, we just pile on and help the dominant society fleece the rich black man's pockets, bro. And that's the bigger picture I keep talking about. It's not me defending deviance. It's me calling out white supremacy.
Hey, Q, you're going to have to be more discreet with your choice of...
What'd I do? You're talking about these guys?
Yeah, like you gotta be.
Oh
more.
yeah, I see him. Yeah. They all coming from your side too.
Hey, look, they know how to troll.
But they're not even clever, bro.
I
Yeah,
know.
that is a that is very interesting. What you put over there in your algorithm, because they coming, G.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, if we was to make a quick pivot, like I said, I'll throw the alley oop. This got the group chat spicy. I think that there was some dissension about what would be the best way to frame it. I want to throw it to Trey to properly frame it, but I'll make it a tip and then you can correct it. Or do you want to frame the Chris Brown conversation
No, I think if you
inside the guise of this conversation?
I think if you say it first, it'll really capture the disconnect between like what you interpreted versus what I'm actually saying. So could you share your interpretation, please?
Of well, this was really a debate between you and G, so I can't really remember what it stemmed from innately, but we got into a conversation about I guess mutual accountability within domestic violence situations, and Chris Brown and Rihanna was an example of that. I think that would be kind of where I can start it at. I feel like there was an antecedent to that maybe I'm missing, but we can start there if y'all want.
Sure. Well, I guess initially the conversation started because um, y'all were, talking about like the meat police type thing where, like shaming with like black men for, what I'm saying, doing, dating interracially. And then I was like, well, even if Chris Brown does mess with sisters, I hear him talk about the complexion of the sisters that he messes with. And then we switch to, well, it's really about him being an abuser. It's like, well, technically he was driving the car and then she attacked him. And then he was defending himself while she attacked him. And then she played the victim, never mentioned that she was the aggressor. And then she went and did a song with Eminem, who was a known domestic violence person who also never was held accountable. So Rihanna got to be an abuser, was not accountable. Eminem got to be an abuser, was not accountable. But Chris Brown is the face of domestic violence as far as R&B and all that stuff. Like he's basically the new Ike Turner 25 years later. Not 25, but a long, long time later. I thought that wasn't fair. Just to sum it up.
Gotcha. G.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think it's fair either. Like, but you also said that men should have the right to hit a woman if she starts it. And I don't think that's fair. So it's like you talk about fair, like you think somebody can hit a woman, a man can hit a woman, and then you think if a woman initiates violence with a man, that man is within his right to use violence against that person, that woman.
Man, I think I personally have shown I've shown restraints in these situations. I think had I not shown restraint in those situations, it could have gotten ugly as far as like dealing with police and all the other stuff. But I didn't like the fact that she was able to put hands on me and then, and then just knew that I wouldn't retaliate. And I feel like I emboldened her to do that to the next person. I think that had she been in a situation that was more mutually combative where, she initiated a fight and then she was dealt with, just like, she was dealt with the same energy, then that probably would have prevented her from coming up at me like that. So I'm not saying that men should hit women, but I'm saying that if a man is attacked by a woman and then he responds accordingly, then I'm not going to judge him. Matter of fact, let's say we're in a situation where a man is retaliating and I like try to break it up or whatever. Anyway, let's say I end up breaking up, and let's say she continues to run and attack him as I'm trying to break it up. Like, should I like hold the man's hands and let her keep beating on him? Because I mean, you have this situation like if a woman is attacking a man, like this whole notion that she can just swing on him and beat on him and everything, and he's supposed to just like would take it until he can leave or like go find the police or like, bro, no, man. Like, if you can't initiate a physical altercation and then expect that you will not be physically assaulted. I don't think that that's right. Male or female.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you agree? Oh, you disagree? You disagree with that? You think if a man is being attacked, then
like I said, I guess women put you in fear of your life. I've never felt like my life was threatened by a woman. Like, so are we talking somebody approaching me with a weapon? Or are we talking about?
What about just your face? What if you don't want to have a busted lip, a broken nose, an eye? Like, what if she's about to put the beats on you? You're not gonna die, but you don't have to allow her.
Like exactly. I don't have to allow her. I can grab her hand. I can hold her like this to stop the situation. I don't have to fucking punch her in the face, bro.
I mean, some women can fight, bro. I don't think it's as simple as just like holding them and grabbing them, bro. Some women could throw hands. Like, imagine if you're Tory versus Megan Thee Stallion and shorty like 2 feet taller than you and heavier than you too. And she, you know what I mean? And she an aggressive fighter. Like, I don't think he could have just held her. And he got to pull out
shouldn't be dating her. You shouldn't be dating her.
Okay. I don't know what to say to that, man. You say
shouldn't be. You should. If you can't manage the type of woman that it is, then you shouldn't be putting yourself beside her. Like, if you physically inferior, my nigga, like we already agree. Like what you're saying here now, women all of a sudden are physically superior and things of that nature. Like, no, like on average, even a quote unquote Tory Lanez versus a Meg, he's probably stronger than her. Like, but like 1 for 1, most adult men are stronger than adult women. So if he's being attacked, he has several options other than punching her in the face. It's just that simple. You can try and hold, you can try and block, you can just remove yourself from the situation. In this case, when Chris Brown was driving, like, he could have easily pulled over, got out of the car, left the keys, but he did it too late. Clearly, like,
bro, he was in traffic, bro. Like, if a person is beating on you, and then it's easy to judge a person for striking a person back. But man, I don't know, man. If you punch me and I feel my tooth loose, and then like you still kicking me, you grabbing on me, you continuously attacking me, I can't say how I would react in that moment. I might have swung on her too. Like, you can't like just be beating on somebody, then be a victim when they swing back, bro. Like, that's why you're supposed to keep your hands to yourself. It's really that simple.
It's not, though. You don't get to control other people. So if a woman hits you and you hit her back, like that's your prerogative. That's your moral compass. That's your moral compass. You know what I'm saying? But niggas who want to hit women, I can't relate.
Want to hit women? Nobody want to hit women, bro. I'm saying, it's honestly a reflex, bro. If a person swing on me, I might reflexively steal off on them, bro. Just because, like, even if somebody jump out and scare somebody, you see them swing on them.
If you out in public, yeah. But you talking about in a car with your quote unquote girl. Now you just got a reflex to just up and smack her like you Ike Turner, like she didn't hit the right note.
She causing me to crash my Lamborghini, I'm gonna fight her off, and I'm gonna try to subdue her. Like, bro, like, if I can't pull over and I'm in traffic, I'm supposed to slam on brakes and risk an accident? Nah, I'm gonna get her what he did.
But you're gonna fight while you're driving versus so that doesn't risk an accident. Like, I guess that makes you super focused, driving a Lamborghini, one hand, roundhousing with the other. Your eyes ain't on the road. You're not driving 10 and 2. Like, what you talking about?
That's not what happened in the documentary when he was talking about the story, which she didn't refute. They said that while she was driving, she jumped on him. He was trying to push her off. She kept going at him. She kept trying to push her off. He finally punched her as he was trying to get off the road. And once he did get off the road, she pretended to continue to attack him, go and start vandalizing his stuff, take his keys, throw it in the wood. Like, she was out of control. And then we're trying to make it seem like she just burnt the grits. So Chris Brown came in the house and slapped her up and bit her. That's the narrative that people were running with. And then she came out years later, and then she said that she initiated the attack because she was jealous and she was beating him up. And then now it's like Chris Brown's reputation has taken that hit, and she's just some innocent victim of domestic violence. That's not right, bro.
It has nothing to do with beating women. Like,
he wasn't beating women; he was defending himself.
If you say so, I don't think that's how everybody else saw it. Like, I don't think he got off for self-defense.
We just talked about the media smear campaign that you agreed happens to black men. So if that's what you're going off of, then I see why you would think that. But I'm just using his own words, talking about the situation.
Why would he, in his own words, say anything different? She
didn't refute it. She didn't refute it. She approved of the message.
Wait, she said that I agree with this?
She agreed with the release of the documentary. So if he was saying something that was untrue, she could have stepped up and said it was untrue, but she didn't.
When you say she agreed with the release of the documentary, what do you mean by that?
Like, they ran it by her people.
And she was like, nah, that's cool. I like the way he told that story.
I don't know if she said all that, but she said you can move forward with putting
you don't need Rihanna's permission to put out that documentary, bro. They got hella documentaries out on Diddy right now. You think Diddy gave all these niggas permission to create these documentaries? You think R. Kelly gave these niggas permission to create documentaries? He doesn't need her permission.
They were clear about the documentary that they had her permission. Maybe they didn't need it, G, but I'm telling you that they said that she was aware of the story when it came out, and she saw it. She was cool with it. She could have stopped it. Chris Brown said they're on good terms. So I'm sure if he didn't want her to do that, if she didn't want him to do that, then she could have stopped it, but she didn't. So now it's like, you believe the media campaign. You don't believe this man's own words, even though she didn't refute it. It's like you just want him to be.
It's like there's no way to get like I said, you're trying to find justification for Chris Brown's actions, and I don't feel his actions are justified. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking for what you're saying.
You're saying Chris Brown was justified to beat the shit out of her the way that he did because she was beating the shit out of him. That's what you're saying, and I just don't agree with that.
I don't think he beat the shit out of her because he didn't. No, bro. He said he didn't continue to fight her after they got out of the car. The only time he was fighting her when he was trying to pull the car over.
Did you not see the physical evidence of the fight,
bro? But I'm saying
the bruising, the bloody, was there no physical evidence that this lady got in a fight?
That doesn't prove that he wasn't defending himself.
No, bro, it proves that she got her ass beat.
But that doesn't prove that he was not defending himself. If you get your ass beat by a person who's defending themselves, then that's different than just getting your ass beat.
I just don't know niggas that need to do that to a woman to defend themselves. That's what I'm saying. That's where we different.
He said he said he hit her one time.
He clearly didn't though, bro. Like,
well, yeah, I guess you.
Like, this is what I'm saying.
Just in the picture, you can see that he didn't hit her one time.
You can't do all that with one shot.
But fellas, it seems as though just in me doing this quick little research, I was trying to look up the approval that you said about Rihanna approving the documentary. I didn't find that, but in me searching that, I guess there is a Chris Brown domestic violence documentary that's coming out. I think it's Hulu. I see the Breakfast Club has reported on it. There's a trailer for it, XYZ. So it seems like this will be a conversation that we will clearly revisit. When it comes down to, accountability, if Chris Brown is an abuser, it seemed like that was in general a conversation as well that y'all were having. I guess this is one of those to be another one of the ones that we'll revisit. It seems like you kind of want to get some final words. Go ahead, Trey.
Man, the reason that black men keep getting these smear campaigns against them is because of black men like you guys who are they just want to believe the boogeyman narrative. Like I'm over here, I'm not necessarily trying to find an excuse for Chris Brown, but I know that there's parts of that story that's missing, and I want to know the parts. And nobody's going to look out for a black man, but another black man, and not the majority of us apparently. So I feel like it's a duty when I see a man getting smeared by the same media that can make the bad guys look like the good guys and the opposite, then it's our duty to defend each other. So when I see people like trying to hold on to this whole like this whole Umar narrative where, it's just like protect women. They can't do any problem. If a woman strikes you and you hit her back, then you're a bad guy, or just like embellishing and putting extra on the story with Chris Brown when he said in his own words that she didn't refute what actually happened. And it is not a story of an abuser. It's a story of a person who was being attacked by a jealous woman who continued to attack him until he was able to fight her off, pull the car over, and then leave, which is exactly what he did. But that's according to the story. Rihanna is just the victim, and that's BS, bro. And we have to agree to disagree. That's cool, man, but that's mad disappointing. But it is what it is.
Gotcha. Do you have any? I guess so. Your response to the multiple other accusations of domestic violence would be simply
What
are
the other accusations? I'm not aware of other accusations. Well,
I know Carucci.
I don't really watch TMZ. I don't really watch TMZ.
I know. Only one I can kind of remember that was inside like popular news would be like the Carucci shit, but I really don't keep up with a lot. But obviously, what's the evidence? All right, so right now, I can answer a couple questions and tell you where I don't have knowledge at. So what I'm saying is that through time there has been, I guess, like a history of accusations for him. I'm not saying if that's true or false. Some of these that it sounds like we will see come to, I guess, the forefront inside this documentary. If it's true or not, we will all kind of have time to pick through and see if this is just a pure smear campaign or if there is a actual history of his abuse. I haven't looked into it, so I don't really have a specific opinion about it. You asked me, could I remember anyone? I know that when it came down to the Carucci, that's in that Carucci shit, she did accuse him of abuse, right? That would be the only one. Say it again.
Was there evidence?
According to you, that picture of Rihanna ain't even evidence. Like there is no evidence that's going to meet your threshold of clear abuse.
But you don't understand that you can get beat up as the aggressor, right?
But what I'm telling you is that these in a situation, if these were two men, I would agree with what you're saying. Just because you initiated it and then you got your ass beat, that doesn't make you a such and such and such. And I'm not even saying that what you're saying about how Rihanna gets to escape blame like is right. She shouldn't be able to escape blame. She's crazy enough to initiate fights with niggas. She should deserve some blame. Like, I don't disagree with that. That said, he shouldn't have beat her up like that.
But he defended himself, bro.
No, but
like
he beat her up. No, but Trey, when you were in, so look, if this was a real argument of self-defense, there's a line legally that once you cross it, now it's assault. It's not self-defense. Bro, you went beyond. But what I'm telling you is
neutralize her. So how do you go beyond if she was still attacking him?
Neutralize. Like I said,
saying, you can remove. To attack
Chris Brown is athletic as fuck. He can get away from that girl, bro.
He did. Period. He did. After he pulled the car over.
Like they were beat the shit out of her. Like it was
in the car. They were in the car while he was trying to pull over. She was attacking him, and he fought her off. He didn't continue to attack her after they parked the car.
Like I said,
okay. So if they pulled the car over, and then after that he threw her to the ground and started pummeling her, that's wrong. I'll agree with you, G. That's not right. But we don't have any evidence that that's what happened. Based on the story. The picture of her getting beat up happened while she was attacking him in the car, and it ended from his side after he pulled over. So that don't sound like a whole story like what you're saying, where he's just he beat her up. Like, bro, She went through his phone and attacked him while he was driving. Like, come on, bro. You can't defend women in every single.
It's not. I'm not defending women. I'm saying what he did as a man. That's not masculine. That's not how men should be carrying themselves. Period.
It would be more masculine for him to wreck the car, huh? Like,
no, I said you got to get away. It's just that simple.
He was trying
to restrain him. I don't know.
You got to
restrain
him. So he's
supposed to drive the car and then gently restrain him at the same time.
You put the shit in park. You put the shit
on the highway. On the highway.
Nigga. Well, I thought you said that they was in traffic.
They in traffic. Are they in traffic? Or are they in free flowing? I
know that they were in motion.
You don't know though. You don't know.
I know you can't while you're driving on the car on the road. You can't just you can't always just put your car in park.
But you can find time to punch a nigga repeatedly in the face.
Bro, why are you trying to get the car, fighting them off while you pull the car over? Yeah.
All I know is that it'd be hard for me to drive and bite somebody. But to me, I'm not hung up on this specific incident as much as, like I said, I don't know if he's an abuser. I think that's where y'all evolved the conversation to. And I don't know. We'll see.
Bite somebody? Bro, if they put their forehead in your mouth and then you close your mouth, you make it seem like Chris Brown held her down and bit her.
So she was headbutting his mouth. Is that what you're saying?
Bro,
and then he just bit her.
You seen that big forehead? She clearly jumped. He said that she jumped. Chris Brown said that she jumped on him. He didn't reach over and bite her. She was on him, and in his hands, he was trying to pull the car over like y'all said he should do. And then she was on him, grabbing on his stuff and attacking him, and he bit her. Then you're making this whole thing I wouldn't bite somebody.
Bro, I'm just saying, Rihanna's face,
it'd be hard to drive and bite somebody.
You don't,
and I don't think that I don't think he bit her forehead. That's not where he said it.
Bro, you don't get a face like that. You don't get a face like that by defending yourself. No woman's face looks like that because a man is just trying to protect himself. Like that, I'm not going with that.
I call Cat, but I guess we can agree to disagree.
And two, it's this is my girl. Why do I want to fuck her face up like this? Let's just be honest. Like I said,
he didn't. She was attacking him.
I'm sure he said face up like that. No, saying.
Chris Brown said he didn't want to do that shit. His father was an abuser. He hated his father for being an abuser.
Right.
Like Chris Brown, he didn't. You make it seem like he did this because she was attacking him, bro. None of this would have happened.
I guess if we move past this scenario, and with quote unquote there being a list of other people saying that he's committed domestic violence in general throughout a period of time, how does that statement still hold up to that? Or do you think that everybody is a coordinated coup of trying to get him because he's trying to buy something or something?
So you're telling me that all the women that Chris Brown have been around, you could find a handful of women that said something. All of them. No, you're saying not
a handful of women that if you're saying that there's been documentation over a period of time of him getting physical with women, then yes. And I'm sure that he's slept with a lot of women, so then that would be a handful of women compared to who all these talk to. Yes.
So you're basically telling me a woman accused a man of something, basically, right?
Not a woman. If a bunch of women are accusing a man of a thing.
Oh yeah, and they couldn't possibly be opportunistic, huh?
Is anybody getting money out of it? I don't
know. I'm sure that the first thing you do before you talk to people is
I don't think Karuchi needed money out of him at all.
I mean, it could have been out of a whole bitter situation. I don't know the situation. I have to see evidence, bro. If you don't show me any facts or evidence of,
but wasn't Chris Brown trying to get back with her? He was singing a name in songs, and
he was stalking the shit out of her. He was stalking the shit out of her,
bro. Yeah. Facts and evidence. No. An accusation is not evidence. So no, if a bunch of people said something, I'm not going to take their word. I don't know them. I don't even know the situation. So for me to assume Chris Brown did it without the facts and evidence,
well, this nigga did plead guilty,
crazy.
And he pled guilty to his own shit with Rihanna. But I guess that don't matter either, right?
Pled guilty to domestic violence.
The thing you call self-defense, he did not.
Okay, well, Rihanna didn't plead guilty. But she attacked
I'm
him.
not.
Does that
I'm
mean
just-
that she didn't
You said
attack
it's
him?
I'm just saying you said it's self-defense, and I said there's a line where it's no longer self-defense, and he pled guilty to a crime, and it was not self-defense. So I'm just speaking objectively.
If Rihanna was the aggressor and she wasn't charged with a crime, then does that mean that she wasn't the aggressor? Because if Chris Brown being charged with the crime means
we've already agreed, bro. We've already agreed. We've already agreed that she was the aggressor.
So apparently, this whole court situation is very subjective and could be skewed. No, I'm saying, bro, just because he pled to some, like, it could have been a plea. It could have been a plea deal. It could have been.
I just said he pled guilty, nigga. Well, what you mean?
It could have been a plea deal. He could have pled out.
He pled guilty. Yeah, he pled guilty, and he didn't plead guilty to self-defense. He pled guilty to a worse charge.
So you think he's the first person to plead to something to avoid going through court?
Tory Brown went to trial. I mean, Tory Lanez went to trial with it. He said he ain't do it.
How'd that work out for him?
But I'm just saying, he said he ain't do it. He went to trial. R. Kelly said he ain't do it. He went to trial. Diddy about to go to trial.
I think it's the pill coming up.
Diddy going to trial. These other niggas going out. I'm just saying, you asking a question. These other niggas went to trial. They stood on what they said. Chris Brown was like, all right, y'all.
How'd that work out for him? Maybe it was smart for Chris Brown to plead if it meant the alternative going out like the guys you listed. So I don't think that necessarily means that he's an abuser either, especially since we know that what he pled guilty to was a situation where he wasn't the aggressor. So in reality, if you're not the aggressor in a situation, you shouldn't be treated as such, especially when the aggressor gets off free. So that's a miscarriage of justice.
That's just not how. That's like an immature mindset. That's like when a kid. That's when a kid be like, well, he hit me first, so I broke his neck. Like, no, nigga. Like, just because you're retaliating doesn't mean that your form of retaliation doesn't cross a certain line. It's just that simple.
Man, here's a bigger picture. Don't you think the mentality of especially with black men, of like we are trained a lot of times by our mothers and our fathers that you never strike a woman, no matter what she does. I have some homies that's mothers taught them differently than that, but typically we're taught that. Don't you think that mentality invites abuse? Because if you know a person will never retaliate, then it doesn't matter that they're bigger than you. You can hit them because
do you think
they're not going to use their strength?
I guess, is this question implying that there's like an epidemic of black women abusing black men and black men being victims?
I wouldn't say that, but I'll say we have an elevated level of multi-directional violence, or not bi-directional violence. Bi-directional violence.
So that means both people beating on each other.
Yeah, we have a high level of that. I'm not going to.
Are you saying that it should just be unidirectional, just through men, or like? I guess.
Of course, that's not what I'm saying.
All right, so if it's bi-directional, okay, so that just means both people are participating in it, which it just sounds like both people need to stop and should be held accountable. Not that like black men should like be taught to hit women more or something like that, and that would solve the problem.
I think there would, if black men weren't taught that, you would see less bi-directional violence because these other cultures, they know that if they raise up to a man, what's going to happen, so they don't do it. In the black community, we are taught not to retaliate. So I think the reason we have more bi-directional violence because you kind of put a battery in their back by telling them that we won't retaliate. So that violence begets more violence type situation where men shouldn't be violent, but men are more violent when they're with a violent person, just logically. Yeah, gee, why are you shaking your head to logic? Violence don't beget more violence?
But what you're saying is basically it's all the woman's fault. Like that's
no,
all.
I never said that. I specifically said I'm not vindicating the men. Men should not be hitting women, but I think men would hit women less if they get hit less. So, but is that crazy?
So are you saying that usually when men
you're still putting
it's because they're responding, or is it just that like a group of men also beat women?
And
a group of women beat men.
I will say
that would be bi-directional. And if you're talking about like mutual domestic violence, that would be like both people fighting each other.
You're saying women would
But
get hit
it,
less if they stop being violent, and I don't think that's even like true. Like, what are you talking about?
Because
Like,
that would say that men are typically responding to women beating them. Are you? And I guess that's what I'm asking. Are you saying that women typically incite domestic violence situations by beating the man? Specifically, we're talking about black men right now, and that's why domestic violence is also bidirectional.
I mean, this may be anecdotal, but in the whole Chris Brown Rihanna situation, he was talking about like he would get smacked up going on stage before, and he had to like explain scratches and stuff. And he was saying that Rihanna's parents, it was bidirectional violence. So that's another example of an abusive situation that isn't just because they like to make it seem
again,
like
by saying bidirectional. What do you mean by that? Are you saying
I'm saying it's not like
the man
this,
is beating
like
the woman and the
purple.
woman is beating the man, or the woman is inciting the violence that then is responding, or is she responding to the man? Like this is such a like very nuanced term that you keep throwing out there that can mean so many things.
Bidirectional means that
going both ways. So, but there's typically
ways.
Somebody that's starting it. So I imagine you're not like when you're saying that. Are you saying that the man is hitting the woman and then a woman is also responding back, or like are you innately implying the fact that a woman is hitting the man and then the man is responding back?
I'm saying not all times. There's some women that are, they're just sweet, innocent women in the feminine place, and then some man just decides to beat on them. That does happen. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. Of course, it happens sometimes. But there are a lot of situations with women who get in the masculine place. And then that's the bidirectional situation. And if you're in a masculine place as a woman, it's hard for men aren't as quick to treat you like a female when you acting like a man.
Okay, and so by everything that you just said, you want to make sure I understand clearly. You're saying that most domestic violence situations are started by women hitting men. Well, because you said sometimes, and you emphasize sometimes a woman can be gentle, and then the man's just beating on her. But a lot of the times, like this is your word and verbiage. A lot of the times, it comes from a woman, and then it becomes bi-directional. So, are you implying that most direct domestic violence situations start with the woman beating a man?
I don't know enough information to say most.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna lie like that. But I'm just saying that we do have an elevated level of bidirectional violence in our community from the stats that I've seen. And I think this Chris Brown Rihanna situation is another example of that. And on top of that, the outcome of this bidirectional violence often becomes the focus on the black man, but not the bidirectional violence that is present. Where we just
I guess this would be the last one, and then we got a whole conservative conversation to get into. So you're saying that it's bidirectional, right? And meaning that it's going both ways. But you're saying that what would solve the like this would be if men were taught to actually respond back and hit women. But if it's bidirectional, you're also implying that the man is responding back with violence as well. So how would what you're proposing as a solution even make sense?
I think the part that you're missing is
are you saying that they should hit him back harder? No,
bro, come on.
So no, so that could be the only other answer to what you're saying. So if you're saying it's bidirectional, meaning men are responding with bidirectional means both people are hitting each other, and you're saying that the women are the antecedent, they're starting it. I imagine if you're saying that it would go down if men are taught to respond back to women hitting them, but you're also saying that men are already responding back because it's bidirectional. That would mean with more force. If not, explain to me, what do you mean?
If men, like especially black men, like in other cultures, women don't raise up to the men because they know that the men will not allow that. He'll respond in court, in kind. So that's why you see less bidirectional violence, because men don't get violence, because I don't think men by nature are as inclined to get violent against a feminine woman as they are against a woman who
My bad.
comes
Say-
to
That's not,
step to them like
I
a man.
disagree with that, bro. I
Could you-
disagree with that a lot. Like,
Oh, wait. You disagree that
Restate
a
it.
man? You disagree?
Restate your whole premise. My bad. I missed it. I was
I'm
kind
saying
of
the
doing
reason
the chat.
that you see less bi-directional violence in these other communities is because a lot of the women there know that if they raise up to a man is going to retaliate with that same energy. So if men aren't going to respond to the energy and the women know that, it's going to be more of an incentive for them to step into a masculine lane. And I think a lot of men are more likely to become physically aggressive to a woman who steps to him like a man than they are a woman who steps to him like a woman. And I'll go.
So, quick question.
I disagree with that last.
Yeah, I'm about to say really quick question, because it baked in that would be the intuition that in those other societies they have a lesser rate of domestic violence, which is incorrect.
I don't know the stats.
Like the men beat the women more there.
Yeah, like this idea that
So
men
it's not like
only beat women masculine is completely false. They could be as feminine as
I
can
didn't
be.
say only, bro.
More
No,
likely,
but
more
likely.
likely.
You said more likely, but
that's not true.
If you're saying those women are more feminine, but their domestic violence rates are higher, how does that correlate to each other?
Men who beat women don't need a reason, bro.
Come on.
I'm just telling you. That's the line. Like it's that type of a line. You justify doing something to her one time, you find another time to justify it again. That's what I'm saying. It's just pretty simple. You need to remove yourself from the situation. There is no like, if she hits you, she initiated it, now you gotta retaliate. No, it's just very simple. Remove yourself.
Q, this can't be what you're saying, because it sounds like you're saying
You said
that,
me? Okay.
No, my bad. G, this can't be what you're saying, because it sounds like you're saying that men are just as likely to be physically violent with a woman who is feminine as they are with a woman that steps to them and get in their face like a man.
Yeah.
Because so you think if a man is being like attacked by a woman, he's just as likely to retaliate against her than a woman who's just being sweet and feminine.
I'm saying
that being masculine.
But doesn't like previous generations of domestic violence rates like denote this? Or do you think that women in America and in previous generations, like generations and generations back, were just always masculine? Like, and this is like dealing with white men. This is dealing with like Muslim men. This is dealing with like men of all races. Like in the past, domestic violence
moms
was higher either way.
These stay-at-home moms with nowhere to go, who do everything in the house, are more likely to get abused than the other women, I would argue.
Tara put a good thing in the chat.
The lesbians.
Yeah,
but her point is that men are more violent than women, so it don't really help what you're saying.
That doesn't make sense.
That's what she's saying. She's saying saying when women are, what she's saying is that if less women in the situation, less domestic violence. Okay, I see what she's saying. Less women, less domestic violence.
Yeah. So, and the lesbians, I would argue, are the most masculine of all men. I mean, all women, because somebody got to fill that role. So that's more to my point. Like when women get into a masculine place, men aren't as likely to treat them as women. Like, I don't know why that sounds crazy.
No, it just doesn't track through history, and it doesn't track through the example that you made. So, like, if you're talking about Muslims and Sharia law and abuse, and like the women not being able to say anything, the men being able to enforce complete will, it's higher levels of domestic violence over there. If you talk about previously in this country, when it was more feminine and women were more traditional, and men, were quote unquote men, again, it were higher rates of domestic violence. So it just doesn't like specifically track really.
I'll have to track, do some more research when I talk about other races, because I see what y'all are saying. Because if the women there are less likely to get into a masculine space, but yet they're still facing a higher level of domestic violence.
Or the same rate, or even the same rate.
Or the same rate. I get how that it wouldn't make, like, they can't if the men are there or treat them like that, they can't feminine their way out of that. And I can concede that. But if a woman steps to you like a man.
No, but my point is, Trey, is if you're the type of man with the propensity to hit women, it don't matter how quote unquote masculine she is. She's gonna do something that you don't approve. She's gonna cross a line that you say shouldn't have been crossed, and you're gonna hit her because that's what you think you can do. Like it's not about the woman, it's about the man. Like there's no reason to be pointing fingers at women when they get hit. When a man is that's the man's character. And
if I was to try and like broaden this out to maybe a middle ground to where we could probably agree. To me, I look at it even more macro than that, to where I would say in general, it is reflective of a person with a power dynamic issue. And so that's man or female. And even if we bring up women that are initiating violence inside relationships,
yeah, they crazy.
Usually, and a lot of times that's based off of their implied idea that the man won't respond. So they feel that they have a power dynamic. And the same thing would be said with the man, whether she's feminine or she's masculine. A lot of guys, and what you see even more is it's a lot of guys who this is their only space of power. And this is how they, exercise it, and they project this version of power on the wife and the kids and the family. That's more of a power dynamic issue in their relationship with power, more than it is anything else. But nonetheless, we've hopefully that's a decent enough place to find a middle ground to this. I didn't know we was gonna get deep into the weeds of DV through this conversation, but this was fun. It seems like we got a piece of a revolution.
To the topic, the conservative Republican leader is also in that same boat of folks who you mentioned who get these accusations, but they get to become president. So you might have a point right there in terms of certain treatment, right? Because this guy's definitely been on the hook for SA and different things, but convicted, but he's president.
Right? All right. I will say we have we've had a couple of them call out. So I have tapped in a favorite to the panel to join us as we segue our way into this political conversation. Welcome to the panel. We have Kofi.
What's up, brothers? What's up?
What's good?
Thanks for inviting me.
All right. So with that said, we're going to segue ourselves into this conversation about conservatism, where it seems as though we kind of have a fairly diverse panel of people. I think maybe some might identify a little more conservative, some independent, more a little bit liberal, which as we navigate this, obviously, we'll have a couple points of definition, a couple points of agreement where we're trying to see what are some points where we do agree on some conservative values. And then as the topic states, we'll critique conservatives and the right. But before that, we'll start with a quick meme.
Conservatives value tradition, social order, and a strong national identity. They often advocate for limited government intervention in the economy and social issues, preferring a more hands-off approach. They believe that the free market is the most efficient way to allocate resources and create prosperity. However, they might also support some government regulations to protect consumers and the environment. Social conservatives tend to be more traditional on issues like family values and religion.
All right. So, nonetheless, I wrote down a quick little quip about conservatives, which naturally we equate with the right, which naturally tends to lean more Republican. It is a social, cultural, and political doctrine that emphasizes the traditional institutions and values. The holding of political views that favor typically free enterprise, private ownership, and social conservative ideas. There are typically four-ish types of left-leaning conservatives, not left-leaning, my bad, right-leaning conservatives, which pro-business, low taxes. You have your libertarians, you have your religious conservatives, you have your social conservatives. Some might say a fifth, where you introduce like the MAGA, and if we want to go six, you go far right, where you get into a little bit more of the race baity things. Just some general conservative points. Typically, they're for Second Amendment. They're little government over big government. Typically, traditional family values. Typically, are for religion, organized religion, and its impact in or its influence in government at times. Individual rights. They see crime as a reflection of individual values and not caused from societal pressures and issues. Pro-choice, no trans in sports, not necessarily really rocking with the LGBTQ. Nonetheless, again, those are some of the things that typically end up on the right, typically end up on the conservative side of things. So I guess I will throw y'all the question first. What do you look at as a conservative? And well, I'll leave it at that first, and then we'll kind of navigate our way through the conversation. What is a conservative, G? In your eyes, can't hear you.
I think that clip gave like a good high level summary, but I feel like when we look at American conservatives, there's also like this underlying evangelical Christian thing flowing through it.
Mm-hmm. That'd be like the religious conservatives.
Yeah, but more like, especially growing up in the Bible Belt, conservatives is also like just, I feel more associated with like those diehard Bible thumpers, for lack of better words. Like they tend to just be conservative. So I would say like that to me is like how it's kind of defined. It's like hyper Christian focus, allegedly hyper Christian focus rather, and then from there they use that as the reason to enforce certain rules and laws. In my opinion, that's kind of how I look at it.
Gotcha. Trey, what is a conservative in your mind?
Man, I don't even. Things have changed so much. I don't even know anymore. I will say that, like, I think they're a lot less. They have a bigger range than I would say there is on the left, because like I think like the MAGA side doesn't agree with the Mitch McConnell side. Like some Republicans say they want to close the borders, others want the cheap labor. Versus like on the Democrat side, it's like more like a one-track mind. They're more on code.
You think so? I think it's a lot of dissension on the left as well.
Oh, really? Because it seems like everybody's.
I think it's a lot of infighting for sure.
Rainbow, they're in favor of abortion. They're in favor of like the border. They don't have the immigration and everything. Well, they're not so.
Yeah, I don't think. I think that the major split, and maybe we talked about it in the last one, with them ends up being like social systems and like identity and identity politics and so sexual identity and shit like that.
Interesting. I never met a liberal that was against abortion.
I've met a lot of them. Yeah.
Oh, really? Dang, what are they?
And they probably Christian. Kamala? They're probably Christian.
So they're against abortion and they're voting for Kamala?
But you also do reckon like there's a lot of black people that vote Democrat, identify as liberal, that are against abortion, especially older black people.
I don't really know too many. Honestly, they're like a woman's right to choose. Yeah, most of the women I know, they're like scared they think you're talking about infringing on a woman's right, and that's really pretty much
so. Like you don't know a bunch of older women that are Democrat but also not for abortion, especially like you grew up in the church. Y'all had a church full of pro-abortion.
I guess I've never had one-on-one discussions about them in private, and I also don't talk about abortions like kind of a sensitive topic because you don't know people's personal experiences and all that. So
Oh, the ones they let it run. The ones I heard,
Right.
yeah.
What about LGBTQ? They're against that too. I don't want to.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think like. Well, I think that that begs the question that'll come later, where I think that there's a notion where a lot of people make the statement that Black people are they lean more conservative but vote liberal. And if there's a reason or not necessarily a reason for that. But again, that's a question that begs to be asked later. So Kofi, what would you say? What is a conservative to you? As good faith as you can. I see that you have a very interesting background lined up right now. So if we go as good faith as possible right now, what is a conservative? Before we get into the problems and the issues, what would you say?
Well, the only reason why I have that black round up because I'm not going to assume I know this is a pro-Black panel. This is a panel who's looking at with the conversations that we have. You know, our guiding principle is a Black perspective. So, not saying that this is the representative of all Black conservatives, but these are prominent Black conservatives. You know, to speak towards the background. What conservatism is basically it should be self-explanatory within the word itself, is to conserve principles, ideologies, way of life, culture, politically, and it usually spills over into your day-to-day as far as like social. So conservatism is something that was developed, American conservatism, because we're in America. So we're talking about conservatism, we're talking about conserving the way of American life, right? Which is to retain culture, not privy to change, to keep things the way they are, was to be the opposite of a liberal or a progressive. So to put it in better context, me as a Black man would most likely lean politically more progressive, more liberal, because conservatism and the building of this country was made for straight white men. So if you're not a straight white man, right, you know, there's certain things that you're gonna lean more, you know, liberal and progressive more on the left. So as far as Black people, you know, never having a right to vote. You know, you got the 14th Amendment, your 13th Amendment. You know, those are policies.
Hey, Kofi, real quick, because we're going kind of like walk our way into unpacking all these things.
Okay, so
right.
Yeah,
so,
basically that's what conservatism is. It's basically on conserving the white American way of life, politically and socially.
Okay, gotcha. And again, I guess going to where you was at, it does speak to conserving a specific time or like specific traditional systems from a specific point of time, depending on what version of depending on which version of a conservative you are, depends on which version of time period you would like to conserve and or bring back, aka make America great again. I think that's what they say. But leading that to ask this next question, do you identify as conservative? And I'll ask it inside this way: do you identify or are you socially and or economically conservative in any way, shape, or form? I'll leave it as simple as that. Toss that to you first, G.
Yeah, I got some conservative perspectives. I don't believe in big government. I think government's wildly inefficient. I agree with strong borders. Shout out to what Canada did recently. I don't know if y'all heard what they did. They said nobody's allowed in because Canada, what they found was that immigrants were getting more jobs, taking up more enrollment in school, and what the Canadian Prime Minister did was completely shut down any more legal immigration and forced the Canadian schools and companies to give those opportunities to Canadian citizens. That right there, I think, is a round of applause, if I'm being honest. So I'm pro stuff like that. So yeah, I personally am not. I believe in, say, a woman's right to choose, but I'm not pro-abortion personally. I wouldn't encourage people to go that route. I believe in right to bear arms. So yeah, I got quite a few things that conservatives, when they start talking, I'm shaking, I'm nodding my head like you hitting on the right points. But I think socially, I don't tend to be as conservative. I think people should have the agency to do what they want to do, as long as they're not hurting other people. If you want to do whatever sexually, whatever the case, I don't really care. Like these things aren't like issues for me personally. So, but yeah, that would be how I answer that.
Trey, talk to us.
Damn, man, I pretty much agree with everything G just said. It's like I agree with you on everything until we get to the simping, bro. It's crazy. I'm trying to think of what I could add to that, man. You kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I'm like more. I lean more conservative socially.
Hey Trey, what you seen right there was stoicism. He ain't smile. He ain't acknowledge it. Keep going.
I mean, he heard me. I didn't need him to acknowledge it. You know what I mean? I don't look for approval. You know, I just say what I say. So I'm more physically conservative as far as if they don't have money for reparations, then I don't really need them to have money for anything else. You know, if we can't be equally comfortable, we can be equally uncomfortable. I just rather them not do anything.
Well, reparations would be more liberal, though, right?
But if they're not going to do that, then which the Democrats, those so-called liberals, have said that they've been studying it for 50 years. So,
but you base most of your ideology. Well, I wouldn't say most, but a big portion of your ideology is based around the liberal principle of needing, or not even needing, not deserving, like it being something that is necessary for Black people.
As far as reparations?
Reparations, yes.
So if that's a liberal principle, then I guess we don't have any liberals then, because nobody's going by that principle. So
what, wanting reparations? What do you mean?
No, which
like the idea of like bigger government and the government giving that, and the social which like that'll fall into like a social safety net plan XYZ, however they end up like implementing the actual policy of reparations. It would fall under what people would consider a left, liberal, or democratic policy. That is why it's been quote unquote presented inside liberal states, in places that have had liberal majority inside their houses and stuff like that. Those are the places that it's possibly been almost able to pass and things like that. It's also why, like the Republican tried to put the pressure on the liberal governor to actually pass it, because he knew he was liberal, he was supposed to stand on the shit that he said. But then that's what we know, don't nobody care about Black people.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why I would be liberal if they took on.
And again, I'm saying ideology wise, not specifically like literally what Democrats are doing, but it's a liberal ideology fiscally. That was the only thing that I was saying when you say like fiscally.
It's just hard to consider reparations a liberal fiscal policy when they haven't made any moves on that at all. So I mean,
no, but I'm saying wanting it would be that though.
Liberals not synonymous with Democratic Party though, too, right? Like the Democrats have not done, but like the liberal philosophy, if you will, like just like they're not synonymous or interchangeable. So it's like you kind of got to remove how the liberal party in America is represented versus like what being liberal means more holistically.
Right, like libertarians typically end up being more right-leaning, even though like their whole thing is like complete liberty and self-autonomy. But they end up being on the right side of the aisle in comparison to like mad different liberal organizations today, where it's left-leaning. Liberal is just like a very specific ideology when it comes down. Well, it's not. It's fairly broad, but it's an ideology, but it doesn't specifically denote left or Democrat.
Same like conservatives. It's a wide spectrum of conservatives. It's a wide spectrum of liberals.
Yeah, because not everybody. If you ask someone to say, "Well, I'm a liberal," right? You really can't. They'll lean more left, but that doesn't mean they're a Democrat. Because I'm lean more left, but I'm not a Democrat. Someone calls me a liberal, that's fine. But the question is, you're a liberal in what aspect? In what aspect? As far as what's your what is your liberal ideology? You know what I'm saying? But it's just going to lean more left. You see what I'm saying? So me, I'm not a Democrat because I don't like what the Democrats is doing. Like G said, they don't push a lot of progressive liberal ideologies for Black people and certain values that I have. So I'm not going to say I'm a Democrat. I'll just say I'm a liberal.
I get what you're saying. It's a spectrum, and there's a lot of nuances. That's why it's so difficult to do the answer, because you also have to bring in like the Malcolm X speech where he was talking about the liberals of a dominant society, how they're like the fox and the conservative is like the wolf, to where, you know, at the end of the day, they're kind of on the same page, but they like kind of play a direction. And then if we're talking about reparations, the people that are pushing the issue the most would not consider themselves liberals at all, because these are the people like they're at the rallies, the reparations rallies, the people in the California reparations board, or in DC, like the same people who are on those boards are also trying to turn Chicago red. So it's like we're in this weird situation where, like, yes, reparations would be a liberal policy, but it seems like they say, like, you would think it was, but in reality, what they give you is policies that don't help you. So but at the same time,
now you're talking about Democrats.
Then who's liberal then? Well, give me the example of a person.
Again, like there's a separation between like right and left, liberal and conservative. Like in Democrat and Republican, typically they do align on the same sides, right? But they don't. Say it again.
She's a progressive. She's a progressive.
Yeah, she's a liberal. But like, we talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago. Like progressive is like far liberal, but then you have like moderates, and then you have like people that are more like I don't like conservative Democrats and shit like that. Like there's a full spectrum of it, but same thing exists on the right as well, where you know what I mean. Like you have LGBT gay Republicans that are MAGA.
You do. It's called the Log Cabin. The Log Cabin Republicans. It's a large group of Republicans that are LGBTQ, but usually LGBTQ obviously is synonymous with the left, so they don't get a lot of flack for it. And people, so you have people who hate gay people and don't like the trans this and the trans that. If you're in a lot of spaces, like major spaces, there's a lot of gay people. There's gay trans people. There's gay drag people. There's a site called Jubilee. I suggest you guys check it out.
Oh yeah, no, they've been rolling them out. I didn't see the Jubilee debates.
They got trans gay people. That's
you mean trans right?
I don't need to check
trans right wing.
Why are you recommending me to check this out? I don't think that needs.
All right, so I'll give an example. So typically Jubilee, this is what they do a conversation called Middle Ground, in which they're not like specifically based around like trans and gay people at all. Like, but they do a lot of like left and right debates. So like they'll have Ben Shapiro debating like somebody left.
That's
around it. Or they'll have like a full panel of MAGA conservatives debating pro Kamala people and their talking points. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're going back and forth. Like they did a bunch of different little versions of the
like
left
Charlie
versus
Kirk,
right.
Like Charlie Kirk too,
yeah. Charlie Kirk could debate like Destiny or something like that. And they'll do those kind of conversations often. Sometimes one of the newer right tricks that they're doing is that they'll roll out the gay Black man and get him to talk the MAGA shit. Yeah. Or they'll roll out the trans and get them to talk the MAGA shit. Like that's one of their new tricks that they're rolling out. And so like when you see those conversations where they got like 20 MAGAs, they'll have like those sprinkled in there also.
But that goes for both sides.
Right.
What they're doing, they're trying to say, look, this is the spectrum. Regardless of what you think, there's actually gay, trans, Republicans that have Republican values, despite the fact that that's something that's more attributed to the left. So, and they do the same thing. They'll have a bunch of obviously gay and trans people. They'll have people like is white supremacy a real thing or some shit like that? and they'll have black people on that side via Republicans will say, well, there's no such thing as racism, and then obviously you have a Democrat or a liberal will say, how can you say that? So they show a wide, broad spectrum, and I think it's fair.
Hold up. So the gay Republicans call themselves the Log Cabin.
Well, no, that's a group within the Republican Party called the Log Cabin Republicans. Not all gay people say, well, I'm a part of the Log Cabin Republicans, but you know what I'm saying, that's not their affiliation. Like you have some LGBTQ people that says, well, I don't believe that I don't believe in marriage, like the constitution of marriage between gay people. I really don't believe that, even though I'm a gay person, and and I'm thinking that I'm supposed to lean that side. I don't believe that. So there's a lot of nuance and there's a spectrum.
Gotcha. I think Trey just wanted to get that joke off. But I'll ask you the same question, Kofi. Do you have any identification socially or economically with conservatism?
Again, I pretty much agree with G. I'm agreeing with G a lot these days. You know what I'm saying? Only thing I will push back on is saying that like strong border is not specifically a conservative policy, especially in this day and age when you have what's going on with the border right now is solely attributed to the Republicans because Donald Trump told them to shoot down the bill, and told Mike Johnson not to push it through. So that's an American agenda. We get into later as far as what's the nuance of what they shouldn't do. Also, gun ownership. I know I'm a person, and I know other people that want guns. They legally want to own guns. So I wouldn't say that's a conservative, aspect. As far as my conservative value,
let me. But you would say that guns because like New York is a very liberal place, and that's like one of the best known places for like where you're going to get in trouble for having a gun versus when you go to any red state. Like I don't know one red state where the idea of carrying a gun is an issue.
Right.
The reason, I don't
like, where's that. One red? Just give me one red state where they're struggling to get guns.
Well, I don't want the conversation to evolve into something else. The issue that we have here right now is that what is conservative is that they want guns to have lax laws on owning guns and getting guns, right? That's the difference between a Democrat and a conservative. Conservative want less checks, less balances. You get semi-automatic rifles, and if you do that, fine. I can get me some bump stocks. There's supposed to be like pretty much next to no restriction on the type of gun, the caliber of gun, and how to get the gun. Versus the Democratic ideology, as far as like, fine, guns are fine, but we should have checks and balances and regulations. As far as like cities, the reason why New York is like that, and there are red states. I'm not sure about red states that's with the gun laws. All I know is about New York, but there are red states that have high crime. But I'm going to speak towards New York and other states that I do know. You have a large population, so you cannot compare St. Louis or Memphis, Tennessee, or Oklahoma City to New York. There's just way more people.
But I imagine you would still say if we're just speaking generally, in which you did unpack like the nuance to it, but generally speaking, conservatives lean heavy on like Second Amendment and pretty much like the NRA all the way down the board. Like they are pro guns, period. And typically when you get pushback, starts to come on like the left side.
Yes.
When you get into restrictions or like places that want none. And again, like it's a spectrum, it's nuance.
I don't know any place that doesn't want any restrictions.
That doesn't want any restrictions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that's what you said.
I think like the further south you get is as minimal as possible for sure. I don't know a lot of places that want a lot of restrictions, especially down here.
I thought you said Dems wanted that. My bad.
No, I think Democrats usually want more restrictions on guns. That's usually where the restrictions start coming.
Yeah. And so to pretty much wrap it up as far as my conservative values, that I have conservative values. So when it comes to treading carefully here, take what I'm saying. When it comes to, like I said, I agree with Trey as far as like, look, If you're grown, you want to do what you want to do, that's fine. It's none of my business. On marriage, I was a lot more conservative. I wasn't sure about, gay people getting married, which to me is like, it's kind of weird. But I am more liberal when it comes to that. So I really don't care, but I'm very conservative when it comes to, what a woman is. So when Ketanji Jackson was being, inaugurated as a Supreme Court justice, and they asked her, what's a woman? And she's like, I don't know. And her brain started frying and smoke coming out of her ears. I'm like, what? So when it comes to certain norms and stuff like that,
what about abortion?
Yeah, abortion. I'm very left of that. A woman should have freedom of choice between her and her doctor, right? Versus mostly right leaning is more of, to me, not throwing shots, but from being in these spaces in the conversation is usually come from not being educated enough on what abortion is, the purpose of abortion, or they just have a Christian evangelical ideology that you're killing a baby without any scientific nuance to back up what they're saying. So that's where I mostly lean conservative.
What about? I guess I ain't got to run down too many. I'll just say traditional family values.
Again, to the right to claim that you're gonna think that the left is not wanting traditional family values, which is to me like not saying.
So you're just pushing back on the premise of it.
Yeah, it's to say, well, obviously we're for family values and we're for guns, and you're basically saying that the left is not true.
Traditional family, like this is where.
I guess it does end up still kind of leaning right. I see where you about to go, G.
Yeah, because the traditional family is like husband, wife, children. Modern family might be
man works, woman stays at home.
Gender roles, all that stuff. Whereas the new age, like liberals, are promoting like early age sex changes, embracing like new identity.
That's a little different.
Letting their young kids go out in other opposite clothes and be whatever they want to be.
Not like everybody's Dwayne Wade on the left.
But I don't think that you made like the
liberal, like
but that wouldn't be like the fair
traditional.
True, but that wouldn't be like the fair traditional modern family values. I think that would be like as you explained them for like the right. It would be more 2-parent working households. This would be more so whether you want to say what is it the right to leave divorce thing. When you start talking about different versions of family dynamics where like gender roles end up being more fluid, where the man might wash the dishes and a woman, or he might cook and a woman might, do, I don't know, fucking mow the lawn or some shit. Like this is where you get into like the traditional family values and things. You went into like the far left progressive gender identity side of it, in which I think that's I wouldn't put that specifically on family values.
Yeah, you went all the way past go, man.
I wouldn't.
What it is.
I wouldn't say
that's far left. That's not the middle of the left. The left is. I'm sorry, G.
But they're supporting it. But they're voting that it's okay for kids to go through these operations.
Who is voting? Who is
but
voting?
People on the left, not conservatives.
So wait,
but I don't think anybody
on the left is voting for that.
That's like one of those talking point things. I really don't know any left people in majority that are for young kids getting it's the hormone therapies. That's
Kamala got the joint for the trans criminals.
But all right, so I guess this is like one of those simple debunkable things. You do understand that policy existed and they were getting the exact same things under Trump.
Under Trump.
Kamala just was inside an interview saying that that's what happens, but the exact same thing. And this has been a recently big story that's came out. The fact that this exact same policy, like, was under Trump. I can't remember if Trump actually implemented, but like nothing has changed from what they can do now and what they could do under Trump.
Exactly.
But she's marketing it though.
She's not marketing.
Kamala.
Bro, that's Trump's ad campaign that's pushing the thing. That like that's not pushing it, but like that's saying that she's for it. So we see it and hear it a lot. But she's not like marketing it. She's not like running in any interview that I've seen. Go ahead, Trey. You were saying something?
I'm saying, yeah, there are all kinds of. I just looked up. I
Okay.
probably shouldn't have looked this up. But talking about the
and send it
the
in the chat too,
transition
so I can
laws.
see.
I just did a Google search on the transition laws for kids, and
Okay.
I'm seeing like every state they're discussing. It's a topic. Who we put, how we vote for this election term will, like, these issues will be decided.
Could you
during
just
this
send the
election.
Google search to or to the thing? I just want to see what
They
you're
letting
looking
the
at.
kids read the ABCs.
Right.
But wait, but let's understand, because this is very blown out of proportion.
It is
because we're talking
because it's
about
not even
we're talking about kids that want to do this conversion therapy and sex change. We're talking about 0.01%. We're not talking about large groups of children who are looking for this. So the situation is as far as kids that want to do that is very minuscule and minimum, and the right blows it up like they're gonna like trying to convert kids, and they got like thousands of kids that they want to do that. So when we talk about this situation, we really got to put it in perspective. We're talking at a very not a fraction of 1%, a low fraction of 1%.
I think that there's a fraction of kids that want to get it, but then there's a fraction. It's not a majority of the left or the Democratic Party that is for this in general.
Man,
like I don't really hear anybody like it. I guess I'll ask this question: who are the pundits, the analysts that are for this that y'all know? Like I don't really know anybody that is ever for this. I only hear it presented as a right talking point against the left, but I actually don't know. I haven't heard in any Kamala speech, any Josh Stein speech, any Wall speech, I've not heard it at all. Anybody make a case for it at all?
It is, and I'm looking through some of these articles to see where they're actually talking about it, because they're talking about where in the U.S. can minors undergo gender-affirming surgery without parental consent. I don't care if it's 1 or 2 kids, bro. Like the fact that it's even a topic is enough to like turn me off from any party that is entertaining it.
But imagine if it's a topic, but nobody's agreeing with it though.
But
and that's what I'm saying. Like nobody, like the Democrat, like they're all right. My bad. I'm saying nobody. There are some far left, and yes, it is left. So I agree with that. There are some far left progressives that are for this. Those are inside the minority, though. That's the only thing that I'm saying.
Well, she needs to speak out against it and say that we're not for this, like make a stand. Because right now, it's like the company you keep type situation. The same thing they try to put on Trump, where if somebody's around him and they're racist, then we put it on Trump. Well, if Kamala has some left extremists around her, then she has on up for that too. And
so who are the left extremists that's around that she has? Who are the leftist extremists? You could say who are the right-wing extremists that Trump is around and Trump gives cover for. So by that same token, what are the right-wing extremists that Kamala Harris has around her that is for this? And at the same time, when we talk about the minuscule minority amount of people that want to do this, it has to be under parental consent, right? The therapy that they have. I hate going to this topic, but it seems like I have to go into this topic and do a show about this topic and dispel a lot of on misinformation. Is that if you had a child that wants to go through gender affirming care, basically they got to go through a psych evaluation. They got to get they got to get the parents' permission. They get a psych evaluation, and they got to get hormonal therapy. This is going to chop your dick off. You know what I'm saying? It differs from state to state, but again, we're exacerbating a very small, minute point. So, yeah,
I can agree that the amount of people, and I don't want to turn this into a what's wrong with liberals thing. So I'll say this the last thing on that side, because it is, I'll agree, it's a minority of liberals who are championing this type of stuff. However,
especially for kids, if you brought it to like trans, you might start getting a bigger pool.
All right, and the thing I'll say though is it's a very loud and noticeable minority. Would be my response. So even though it's a small volume of individuals, these are definitely some of the loudest niggas in the room when it comes to them getting their message out. So
I agree, and I think that the same could be said for the right. where I think that whether it's the far right or the not progressive right, the quote unquote alt right, like they end up giving the right such a tag of racist, such a tag of like a lot of these different terms, in which one could argue that that could be a small minority as well. But as we start to continue to push through and track through the conversation, I'll ask y'all this question. We kind of touched on it earlier, so I'll ask it kind of more so outright. Are most black people conservative by nature? And does that mean that they should align with the right? G, talk to us.
I'd say yes, they are more conservative by nature. Largely, I think because of religious influences, personally, in my opinion, whether it be Christian or Muslim, I feel like it fosters a more conservative household and lifestyle. But this is my issue. Just why I'm not going to be voting for either party, because I still don't think that the party that represents the quote unquote conservative values are going to put the policies in place that are most beneficial for our community. So no, I would say they are naturally more conservative, but I don't think that means they should be giving their vote to the Republican Party.
Okay, so socially, black people are more conservative, but those conservative quote unquote policies, whether we speak like economically XYZ, aren't necessarily tried and true to be beneficial for black people. Is that a fair representation?
Yep.
Okay. Trey, talk to us. Are most black people conservative by nature? And does that mean that they should align with the right?
I'll say especially from some of the previous generation, because I think because of the climate that the previous generation has left for us, I think a lot of the kids aren't as conservative as their grandparents, that's for sure. And I think that some black people should vote conservative. I also think some black people should vote independent and some black people should vote Democrat, because that way, if all the parties know that our votes are up for grab, then that'll incentivize them to do something to earn our vote or do something for us. Because right now in this situation where we just vote liberal reflexively, it just puts us in a situation where they don't have any reason to do anything for us. So yeah, I think if you're conservative, like, you shouldn't be ashamed to vote that. But I don't think you should get into like the people in Kofi's background, like, don't like be one of them, like go jump from one plantation to the other. But as far as like, there's like a wave of independence that I'm seeing. I've never seen this many independents before, and I'm real like proud of that progress. So, that's what they should cover all our bases.
You done hopped on the independent train now? You done left the right? Come on.
I always been an independent, bro. I always been an independent.
Come on.
I'm not.
I like this.
Yeah, my party is the Black American Party, bro. Like,
G, you see this? You done brought my brother to the middle.
Hey, man,
bro, I'm a registered independent, bro. I've never been. I was a registered Democrat because I did that as when I was 18, but I've never been. You're not gonna find a MAGA hat. I'm not out here. I got a Trump shirt. It's kind of funny. It's called Donald Trump. It's got a picture of him with a bottle. And
no, I'm just going off our previous conversation.
You wear that when you're going to get IPAs?
I was in Hilton Head, with my IPA.
You fit right in.
More
fit right in at Hilton Head. Yeah,
my boy Trey gonna tell them himself. I ain't gonna lie.
I should have put the shirt on for the show, bro. Honestly,
you right. That shit was.
I'm just saying, there was a time where I think you explicitly said that at that moment you would vote for Trump, but
that don't make me right wing just because I vote for Trump.
Okay,
that just means that like I'll vote for whoever's policy. Like I'll change parties.
And now you're moving a little bit more independent.
Like people
right?
change their draws, bro. Like depending on what you got to offer.
I ain't mad at it.
I'll vote for. I'm never gonna vote straight party. I never
Mhm.
had any intention of doing that.
So you as a independent, saying that you would vote for Trump, what policies as you as an independent is why you're voting for Trump?
The border, man. Everybody's weak on the border except for him.
Politically, that's not true, but I do understand your point. Politically, that's not true.
Well, you
He's
just see why I was
politicizing
seeing
the
that
border.
way.
I'm sorry.
You would see how it kind of seems that way since like it's out of control now. So the last thing I want to do is have the people who are in control of it now to continue. Like they deserve to be fired, like based on their performance. So,
but you want Trump as was a person that killed the border bill that would have regulated the border.
I mean,
there's
nuances there. There's nuances there. There's nuances.
Not really.
The bill wasn't just there were things added into that bill, and it didn't include deportations. And it said that if you have over a certain amount per week, then that's when you can start deporting people. But that's week to week, and that codifies an amount that are allowed to come over here, which
there's
puts
some
that into law.
misrepresentation in what you're saying for sure.
We say what? You saying?
Oh, what was it? I was just recently looking at some of the things. I think that with the number, there's a maximum that's to trigger it, but like the person could actually trigger it at any time before then. I think maybe it was like 9,000, but that also was like excessively lower than what the running average for during Trump or Biden was. So like it was a lower average to trigger it at the maximum, but still at the minimum, like you could still, I guess I don't know if it was like through a presidential executive order or whatever the whole thing is, but you could close the border earlier than that specific crossing number.
Yeah, there's a threshold.
Like people say the number as if like they're still going, just they letting this many go, as if like wasn't 20,000 or 20. I forget what the number was that was crossing, whether it was weekly or daily. Like I've kind of like brushed through it and kind of just got a decent enough understanding. I don't remember the exact numbers, but
bro, that's like filling up on Cheez-Its on the way to Thanksgiving dinner. Like if we're trying to close the border and we're trying to deport people, and you gave us that, then I'm just gonna say no.
But that also is better than either party has had over the past.
Because then you're gonna have it in the law. Then you have to roll it back. Then you have to fight it. Right now, they can just like get the deportations and get the closing down the border, which is I think what the plan is.
But this bill was mostly a conservative bill. So it was
written by
people who
conservatives
leans conservative on this particular issue, because you have people on the left that was like, wow, this is not, it doesn't give you like that much opportunity, for citizenship or anything like that, and it was a very conservative bill, right? And again, Mike Johnson said, hey, it's gonna die on the floor, right? Because Trump wants to make it a thing. So saying, again, put it in the lap of, well, it's a Dem problem. If you're leaning conservative, you're going to have to say, well, conservatives really don't care. Politically speaking, when it comes to passing bills to do something, the reason why nothing's being done right now is do Trump. Even if you say, you know what, I don't agree with it, we need to improve on it, then fine. But then you can't say, well, something needs to be done and say, well, it's okay not to do anything until Trump's getting into office.
So Q, you push back on me. So that means you believe that the Democrats have a justification for blaming the current border status on Trump, who's not even in office.
Oh, do I think they have culpability as well? For sure. Like I'm not
Trump
like
has culpability for the current status of the border. That's what you're saying?
No, all right. So let me try and slow down what I'm saying. So I'm not saying specifically Trump or Biden is to blame for the border. That's one, right? I'm not saying that Biden. All right, so maybe I'll start here. Biden in the bill that they was trying to pass was going to allot for restrictions that were going to help in general, right? And some of those restrictions were better than what Trump had. That's what I'm saying specifically, right? Did Trump do things that were positive for the border? Yes. I forget what the COVID executive order was that pretty much shut down the border. And then like 2 years after it opened it up, and that's kind of where we had the influx of migrants. Like
Right.
that would be positive for the border that Trump did. So
Yeah, but that was
I'm
due to
also not
COVID.
just like specifically saying that. Yeah, it was because of COVID, but
So what are you
I'm
saying
also
about the
not
bill, bro?
specifically saying. I tried to speak real slow and say just then. Like
I'm about
the
the
bill
bill.
would
The
have
bill.
been
You talk,
it would have been beneficial still. Like whether you would have liked more. This was written by a conservative governor or House member, whatever.
Mayorkas.
Yes, this was written by them, in which yes, it was a bipartisan bill. So there was like Ukraine aid, there was like different things thrown in there that all
Right,
bipartisan
exactly.
bills have. But again, that's all bipartisan bills. We understand to get it passed through, that just is the game of politics. Unless like somehow we're never going to play politics, and we're going to wait for us to have full, or whichever side is us to have full, House and the executive branch. So you have to run things bipartisan. So it's going to have other things in it that you might not specifically want in your party. But it was a conservative written bill. It was a conservative bill, and the bill was going to help with the border. If you think the border is as bad as we say that we believe it to be, this was going to be a step. Could Trump afterward do like some version of an executive action to do more? I'm pretty sure he could have.
Okay.
Like,
So how much?
but it would have at least at that moment stopped it. And again, then you have the multiple Republicans that just said that, hey, Trump said don't pass it simply because of he wants to run on immigration, and we don't need to give them wins.
Because he has no policy.
But that does go both ways when in politics.
Well, I agree. Again, I'm not pointing the finger.
People blocking other bills. Yeah. So that's just that to me is just the nature of politics. Like that's not.
Wait, but G, won't you know that's more notorious on the Republican side, because we go as far back as to when Obama came into to be a president. Mitch McConnell said we're going to make it as difficult for him as much as possible. And then as of lately, in retaliation, oh man, I forgot what they were trying to do.
I mean, Democrats tried to make it tough on Bush, but then 9/11 happened, and then everybody became a patriot. You see what I'm saying? Like it's always. I just feel like pointing out that the Democrats blocked a bill that was favored by this other side isn't really a true indication of who cares about what. They're just having fucking pissing contests.
Yeah, I agree with that.
True, but I mean, but it wasn't for as like, damn, it's slipping my mind right now what the issue was. It wasn't like a dire issue where, hey, look, we need to do something. We need to move the needle on that because fentanyl's coming in. We have, it wasn't like something that's an emergency versus Mitch McConnell saying, hey, look, I ain't doing shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, well, he just said in general, we're not doing anything. And I think I forgot what it was, but when the Democrats blocked something that we're going to do, and Mitch McConnell got in his feelings, oh, how dare they? How can they do something like this? This is so un-American. And they rolled it back like, motherfucker, you just said when Obama came into office doing his inauguration, you could make it difficult. You know what I'm saying? But I do agree it goes both ways.
Yeah, that's just the WWE of politics to me. Like, Mitch McConnell's just being Vince McMahon.
Pretty much.
Gotcha. All right. So I guess before we move on to the next question, Kofi, I'll re-ask you the same question. Are most black people conservative by nature, and does that mean that they should align with the right?
No, I totally disagree that black people by nature is politically, socially conservative, because if you're saying that, you're saying you fuck the 14th Amendment, fuck the 13th Amendment. I'm 3/5 as a human being. My black ass don't need to vote. Redlining's okay. All of that. So to me, again, like I said in the beginning, when you asked the first time, what is conservatism? What is American conservatism? That is American conservatism is the lens through white Americans. They set the table. They set the standard as far as what conservatism is. Remember, conservatism is to retain, reluctant to change.
But don't they set the liberal standard too?
Well, yes. But that's trick question, loaded question.
It's not trick question.
I'm going to tell you why.
Question.
Because the liberal aspects, right, is the polar opposite of conservatism. So if conservatism is if you're a white straight male, everything you can keep everything the way that it is, and your life would be good. So by default, if you're a woman and you're not a white straight man, those people are going to come together and say, look, We need liberal progressive policies because the body politic, which we know it is America, is not favoring me as far as like me as an American citizen. I'm a woman. I can't vote.
So are you saying women are at the backbone of American liberalism?
That's what you're just saying.
I didn't say that at all. I never said that.
I didn't say anything about women being in the background.
You did just say that. You just said women.
I didn't say women. I didn't even use the word backbone. I am saying by default, when you look at conservatism, liberalism is the exact opposite of conservatism. We're in America. We're not talking about. There's no place called Black Peopleville, and they went to America. You're in America, and when we talk about conservative values, it's under the paradigm of Eurocentric ideology.
But so are liberal values, is all I want to point out. All of this shit is Eurocentric.
Okay, but again, you're negating the fact. Do you agree that if you're a straight white man in America, would you have less of a pushback in every aspect of America? Socially, economically, politically, you will have less pushback as a straight white man. Are there more obstacles or less obstacles as a straight white man in America?
Yeah, that's the ace. That's the ace of spades.
All right, thank you. So laws, so laws and their lack of are set up for white men. So knowing this, historically and politically speaking, if you're a woman or a person of color or gay or whatever, you would say, well, all those people will galvanize together and say, look, we need certain changes. So same thing. So when black people were,
but that's not the foundation of the white. That's not the foundation of the liberals.
So when black people were fighting to vote, women was like, how do niggas get the vote and we don't have the right to vote? So if they get the vote, we want to vote. So all those people on the right side, but for different reasons.
But
all right, so maybe if go ahead. All right, so maybe if I try and redirect this to where we can get to a point where we can kind of I don't know if we're going to get agreement, but at least center it a little bit. So when speaking about conservative values, and black people by nature being those, I think we're talking about like more modern conservative values, i.e. like just some of the basic points, whether we want to talk about like abortion, whether we want to talk about I don't know, we can go little governments, traditional family values, religion, and the idea of like impact of organized religion and government, or just in general life, and that being a basics. I don't know, individual rights, Second Amendment. I can kind of run down a couple different things, not necessarily because I understand what you're doing. Like you're saying that with like traditional conservatism, it's the MAGA argument. Like, when was America great for black people? And by that, black people don't necessarily have a space in conservatism. So I want to take it away from that and just go to more so conservative values in which that we softly initiate with, not associate with that. And is that more so something that a lot of people tend to say black people align with?
Yeah.
Well, one thing that G said that I agree, that I want to hit the point when it comes to how black people are more aligned with conservatism, which will align with the right wing on Judeo-Christian ideology, would be religion. You know, so again, my mother is a very hard Christian loving person. So with that, she's very active in the church. She lives in Georgia. So, in the part, where she lives in, she has most of her friends are white Christian people. But she came to find out, moving from New York, that, hey, look, yeah, we have solidarity with as far as our religion, but we devolve separately when it comes to our politics. So you can find common ground there, but there's still a divisive nature there when it comes to religion. So yes, I would say when it comes to religion, yeah, black people by default are conservative. But to me, that's where it kind of starts, and maybe into capitalism a little bit, even though both sides are pro-capitalism. But to me, it kind of starts and ends there. And to me, anyone that says black people are conservative besides anything else, basically you're saying, nigga, I might as well be a slave. But you did say modern conservatism. But again, by default, conservatism is to retain normality and norms. But I guess we'll talk about neoconservatism is where you're going. If you want to talk about neoconservatism, then fine.
Not necessarily neocons, but I guess if we're just talking about like more modern specific conservatism. This is I like to say, like, if we was reading this in paragraph form, Kofi wanted to make sure he put the parentheses in to be like, hey, I can say this, but just understand my underlining meaning is that niggas can't be conservative. But if we talking about right now,
Man, but that's the thing though, bro, because we're also naturally conservative, but like Republicans like can't bear to stop being racist long enough for us to go and then vote for our values. So I think out of that, by bad people see that open racism. So that's why even though we might align with the values, we won't go
like
that
this.
way. But
we got a Trey and Kofi agreement.
No, I wouldn't. I'm not saying that. No, because I want to add the other thing, bro.
Watch him walking back now. Oh God, my bad. I shouldn't have said it. My bad, Trey. My bad.
Republicans.
Hey, Trey. Matter of fact, I'm gonna throw the question to you because I think that this is probably where we can find some agreement, or maybe we can find some common ground amongst each other. Critiques and contradictions of the right. Trey, we can start with you. What are some? Again, we're critiquing problems with conservatives in the right. It sounds like majority of the panel identifies independent. So obviously, you're not identifying right or Republican for a reason. What are some critiques that you do have of the right? Trey, we'll start with you.
I'll just say
or contradictions. Yeah,
just the open racism where. I think if it weren't Trump and it was just like a Mitch McConnell, you wouldn't see this many black people considering voting for Trump. I think Trump used to be a Democrat. He said that he's only a Republican because the Republicans are a dumber constituency he can manipulate. So, and he's also had a history with the black community. He was friends with Oprah, friends with Jesse Jackson. He funded campaigns. He put Whitney Houston up in the hotel. He did something similar with Michael. He defended Michael Jackson against Kamala Harris. So, I mean, like, Trump isn't your typical Republican. So, and also black people are Republicans have been so openly racist that black people like Kofi, I don't know how you feel about this as a, non-FBA Pan-Africanist, but like the Democrats are withholding food from some countries in Africa because they won't be gay, like sign on the gay bills. Or, like they don't like their gay policies in Ghana. So Democrats are like, they're like, well, I guess you can't eat. So like, does it feel kind of messed up, like voting for that?
So by that you're saying I should be a Republican and go on the Republican side.
I'm not vote for Democrats.
Hold on. Where Donald Trump called them shitholes. Right. So I should go on there.
You're not making them be gay.
I mean, there's AFRICOM that because Obama did that. I show my kids that this is a famous video. I think it was a Ugandan guy and say, oh, they want us to accept this nonsense because Obama. And the guy was showing things on the screen. They eat the poo-poo. Look at this. Look at this over here. Look at this over here. Oh my God, it's so disgusting. This is what they want. We don't want this sickness here. You know what I'm saying? So
the whole time. That's funny.
So yeah. So again, it's because I'm tapping into my Africanness, not my whiteness, brother. I'm 1% white. But it's an American agenda. It's just like when right wingers talk about, oh, we don't want war. Look at these Ukrainians. Don't you know we've been supporting Israel, giving them hundreds of millions of dollars for decades, right? That's different. Nah, motherfucker, it's the same thing. You got to hold them both accountable.
Gotcha. Trey, were you done with running down? I know you said racism. Is there anything else? Problems with the right?
Honestly, yeah, because I like traditional values. I like the closed border. I don't like big government. I like the Second Amendment. I like pretty much everything except for the racism, bro. Like, and it's crazy how they know this about us, but they really just can't bear to bottle up the racism. Just like even recently, where like that racist joke that they were at the campaign. It's like, bro, can you just not be racist for 2 weeks and then you could be as racist as you want?
Cuz that opened up the Trump rally.
Yeah, it's like they just can't.
Well, that Trump rally, it was just kind of wilding. They was in your state, Kofi, wilding. But they
had a whole rundown
of
not to be racist is like asking a Klan member, not to be racist. I mean, these are the same people that even when Tucker Carlson was in Georgia, he was talking about how black people didn't do anything. White people build this country and they want to take down your monuments. Like, if you have any fucking self-respect or integrity, you can't be a fucking Republican. How are you a Republican standing next to motherfuckers that's saying shit like that?
But that's what Malcolm X was saying. That's what Malcolm X was saying.
That's before Malcolm X. That was before the Southern strategy. That's before the Southern strategy. And I don't like when people take certain phrases out of historical context. Now, I'm not saying they're all our friends. My position, always politically and historically, is that if you want to move the needle on anything, as far as certain bills being passed for us that will benefit black people or just decent people in general, that's needles always being pushed on the Democratic side. So you could have your critiques. About the Dems. There's a lot of legitimate reasons why you should, chastise them or whatever. But to say that both parties are the same in regarding to getting things through and racism, that's total bullshit.
Hey, fellas,
you like sneaky racism.
Fellas. Right now, I'm gonna be the teacher. I'm gonna try and redirect this back to the to conservatives and the right. And again, we're critiquing, and this is actually funny because on both of the part 1 and part 2, we kind of did this exact same thing in diagnosing a problem with the left. We ended up talking about the right a lot, and now in diagnosing just problems with the right, we're talking about the left a lot. Let's try and stick to what are some of the things whether we agree or disagree with the person. After everybody run them down, we can kind of run through some things that we disagree or agree with. But let's just run down some of the critiques or contradictions that you feel about that side and try and get them all out first. Trey, you said that you pretty much was done, right? Kofi.
Pretty much, yeah.
No, I kind of blacked out for a second because I was reading the comment section. So I want to you probably gonna get mad at me that I'm rehashing this up, but I want to respond to what TBI just said. He said, so it wasn't racist when Biden said, if you don't vote for me, then you're not black, right? And
all right. So Kofi, hold on. Let's say
okay.
I want y'all to answer the question first. We can engage with the comments in a little bit. Let's stay focused. And so right now, let's critique. What are some critiques that you have of the right without bringing up the left? Like we could critique the left or justify things that the left is doing later in the conversation. Right now, let's critique the right. So, ball in your court.
Oh, mine or G?
Yours.
Oh yeah, I said I blacked out. I really didn't hear the question. So what's the question?
Oh, right now we're it's the same question that I asked him. What are some critiques and or contradictions that you have with the right?
I think again, it's gonna blow your mind. I pretty much agree with Trey. As far as their racism, because there's a lot of values. If you take away their racism and their xenophobia, there's not a lot of things that I disagree with the Republicans. It's not that many things. They do a lot of gaslighting. They do, there's certain things like, hey, we want rid of the party of family values, their claim. Okay, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm for family values, even though they say they don't do it. My thing, as I guess you could say, I guess won't talk about the Dems, but they say, hey, we're for family values, right? We care about life. All right. So why is Mississippi and red states are they're against? They're one of the poorest states as far as like funding, literacy. They want to roll back labor laws for children, so children could work. They want to defund. Trump says he's going to get rid of the Department of Education, right? I think it was Brian Kilmeade. He's like, oh, you're out of central casting because Trump is a child. Everything is just surface. Oh, so do you want that job? You want to retire? We're going to get rid of the Board of Education. You're going to want to get rid of Black History Month, right? Or saying things like that. But it's all embedded in their racism and their xenophobia that I don't agree with. But you take that away, there's nothing really wrong with that. And they're a little bit too pro capitalist, where to the point where they're undermine pretty much social social programs and social economics like Social Security. Obviously, like I said, the Board of Education want to privatize education, which is going to undermine middle class poor people because they want you to go to charter schools and private schools. So, they're those are the things that I disagree on the Republican side. Their racism and their greed. Pretty much that's it.
G, talk to us.
Yeah, I agree with the Republican Party just being a little too complacent and comfortable around racists. Is just I think the way I put it. Like,
it's a good way to put it, man.
I'm not saying that just because you're Republican you're racist, but it's like you don't mind when the racists start making racist jokes. You just kind of laugh and keep walking, right? Like it's just they're a little too complacent with certain rhetoric, in my opinion. I also am not a big fan of like the neoconservatism types, the George Bushes of the world, the like using military the way that they use it. The
warmongering.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the amount of money that gets invested in the military industrial complex. Now, I'm not saying that's unique to conservatives because Democratic Party spends way too much money as well, but it's definitely something that's been driven more so by like the quote unquote Dick Cheneys of the world, like that sort of thing. And I would say like definitely it's like they want to say free market, less regulation, but then want to give us these rules about like abortion, for example, and tell us how we should be living our individual lives. So those are some things that I see as contradictory, all in all. But like everybody else said too, is I have things that I agree with, but all in all, I would say those would probably be the biggest things that turn me off from the conservative party.
Gotcha. I guess if I was to try and run down a few things when it comes down to critiques and contradictions, I would probably say I think conservatism in nature preserves hierarchy, in which, I just don't think that that's specifically like the best thing. When you're gonna have the natural haves and have-nots, and as I'm more middle government because I'm not big on big government or little government, but I think that there's a necessary safety net, but capitalism is also very necessary. And so, to me, I think that if you just go full free market, that is going to only and always end inside a hierarchy or hierarchical system, which then makes it fundamentally unequal. And typically we then have like the American caste system, which already exists, where whatever your class is that you're born in, you are most likely to stay inside that, whether you're poor, rich, or middle class. It's rare that people actually move classes inside like the majority. So I think that it then pushes an ideology that sounds really good, but it's not specifically possible but for a very few. If I go past that, I think that when we get into like just the actual contradictions of it and what like quote unquote conservatives tend to like base themselves around, which for a long time you had like the Candace Owens, who are against racial identity being a part of like the reason why you should or shouldn't vote for somebody, the idea of identity politics, XYZ. But then you like take this entire election cycle where I've heard probably more than I've heard from Democrats. I've heard right and left acts about, is Kamala black? And talk about her actual racial identity instead of just like talking about the policies that they think that she doesn't really have, or the fact that she for a while didn't have actual policies. What we seen ran on Fox News and a lot of these different places was a racial identity specific thing. Same way where I think that what you would say, free speech, like they're all for free speech unless like if Kaepernick is kneeling, or like if it's like specific versions of protest. So yeah, for me, those would be like some of the contradictions that I would say that I probably lean on, that I think I see transparent across conservatives. I think a lot of those are mirrored on the right, on the left side, but specifically we're talking about conservatives right now. So yeah, I don't know. Fellas, thoughts?
Damn, man, I didn't like the racist joke that old buddy made. We were just talking about the racism on the conservative side. Man, Taylor said that, man. Yeah, he was said that his black homie was instead of a pumpkin, he was carving watermelons instead. So
this was in the chat.
Oh no, that's what the guy the racism at the Trump rally. We were just talking about
the comedian.
Yeah, but Terry was saying that he also makes Holocaust jokes in front of the 48ers.
Well, yeah, he's a roast.
He gives it to everybody.
Oh, yeah. I think that like I would put it more on the fact that I put it more on the fact that he just shouldn't have been hired for the thing.
Yeah,
like he does that exact shock version. What is it? Kill Tony. So if you've ever watched Kill Tony, and which is like a sketch comedy, like I don't know if it's like a show that comes on consistently, but they're based around making the worst possible joke. And like if you watch any of the roast shows, he comes up there and he makes like the worst possible jokes.
That same guy?
Yeah, that literal.
Why would they bring him up? That's crazy.
Right. And that's why like that it was really more of a misstep for like Biden and like the crew. I think Jon Stewart had the best like joke about it, where he gave a comparison of Beyonce and that guy, where he was saying like how like Beyonce, like she's known for singing and she's amazing, and people like they heard that she was coming out to the Kamala Harris rally. They thought she was going to like sing a song, but she came and like she actually gave the speech, right? So she did what people weren't expecting her to do. In comparison, you look at this guy, I forget Tony, whatever his name is, like everywhere you've ever seen him at, he's only making edgy, racist, xenophobic jokes about everybody, right? So bringing him to a Trump rally and not doing these jokes would be comparable to bringing Beyonce to a rally and not expecting her to sing. And that was the joke that he made. But that's the reality of the concept. Like he did what you expected him to do.
And he called Puerto Rico a floating piece of trash in New York City, like the place where the most Puerto Ricans live outside of Puerto Rico. So like he went straight there to it. So he definitely didn't single out like black people. So I wouldn't go that far, but I could also understand, like you said, time and place. And like I do wonder if he really did that intentionally, because he's like working for the Democrats, because it strategically makes no sense for him to do that, because it just gave media fire to like talk about, and then it forced Trump to like back off of like, we don't condemn what he said. Like it forced them to make a statement about this. They had to address it. So it's like, did you intentionally go in there to try and like stir up the pot in favor of the other side? Like it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, but wait, you're giving them this is the profile of the Republican Party. So to say, well, they didn't know, what it's kind of you're being very generous towards them.
No, they knew. They approved. He was reading off a teleprompter. He was reading his jokes off a teleprompter, so everything was screened. So what I'm saying when it comes to this, when people try to give him the benefit of the doubt, is either the Trump campaign knew that he was going to do this because he was reading off a teleprompter, or they just negligent and didn't know who this guy was, but they know what they were doing, right? The MAGA, not Republicans, because you got a lot of Republicans that's not endorsing Donald Trump because he's a threat to national security. He doesn't know what a fucking tariff is. He's gonna fuck everybody over when it comes to that. But it fits the profile of who they are. They could talk about black people. They could talk about Hispanics. I mean, if you're a president and you're saying they eating cats, they eating dogs, Muslims are a threat, Hispanics are rapists and murderers, and you're still
and you're a contender and you're kind of winning, why the fuck not?
Man,
Have
I'm not
someone
gonna
like
be.
that. It makes no sense. So and I'm about to bring it home. So the only pushback was they were saying Trump, his campaign said that. Trump never said that. His campaign said, well, we disavow what he said, right? Only because they got the backlash. Trump said, oh, I forgot what camp, I think it was a couple of days ago, he would say, oh, we do good with Puerto Ricans. We do good with Puerto Ricans.
They are.
We look with Hurricane Maria and so he never apologized. Himself never apologized. That's why Bad Bunny, J-Lo, John Leguizamo, and he lost a huge voting block of Hispanics that supported him, which I don't know what the fuck why, but what they did. So he's totally disingenuous in what he's saying.
That's the other thing. Why are black people more offended for Hispanics than Hispanics are even offended? Because the Puerto Rican governor, the Puerto Rican governor endorsed Trump. But as black people were like, I don't like us putting on the cape. If these people aren't offended, then I'm not putting on the cape. I'm not dissing jump. I'll say something about the watermelon joke. But the days of us putting the cape on for foreigners who don't even put the cape on for themselves.
Puerto Rico or Puerto Ricans. That's why we laugh when you say you're independent. So you sound like Trump. When Trump was like, oh, these Puerto Ricans and all this, like when Hurricane Maria, it's like these are Americans. They are considered Americans, like the U.S. Virgin Islands. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm a North Carolinian.
So you can't say. That's why I don't. There's a spectrum with.
Are they considered Americans though?
More right. Because you're repeating what Trump said about, oh, these foreigners, they are Americans.
Are they really considered Americans before they're considered Caribbean?
Caribbean is a location. Caribbean is a location, not a culture.
So if you're a citizen, even though you're not a
so state, locations don't have culture. Does New York have a culture?
You're saying you're trying to make Caribbean synonymous with culture.
So does New York have a culture?
Yeah, there is a New York culture.
So is there no Caribbean
Which
culture?
It's a melting pot, but
so there's no Caribbean culture, is what you're arguing right now.
No, you're trying to make
bro. You just said Caribbean's not a culture.
It's synonymous, and I'm saying Caribbean is a location,
and you're saying it's not a culture.
So okay, so you're saying
there's a Caribbean culture, bro.
So you're saying Puerto Rico and Jamaica have the same culture. Is that what you're telling me?
Man, I think islands in the Caribbean share similar culture. Yes.
No. I'm not talking about share.
I didn't say the same. I didn't.
One thing.
Because I don't think
what you're saying. I'm going based on what you said.
Has the same culture as
Queens. Jamaica and Cuba has the same.
I don't think Brooklyn has the same culture as Queens. I don't think Brooklyn has the same culture as Queens. But there's definitely a New York culture, and there's a New York culture, undeniably, right?
There are two different cultures.
But New York has a culture though, right? But New York has a culture though, even though there's different cultures within New York City, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, so what are we talking about?
Because you said Caribbean is a culture all in its own, where there's several cultures within that geographical location.
The same logic applies to how we just went from New York City has a culture, but then Queens has a culture. Brooklyn has a culture. Same thing in the Caribbean. Everybody that you have Jamaican culture, you have Puerto Rican culture. There's a Cuban culture. There's a St. Lucian culture, but there's also a Caribbean culture as well. Like it's what it is.
You're kind of double talking, but whatever.
So, fellas,
okay.
Again, I think that right there, y'all are probably getting into like the minutia and semantics, in which I like to ask y'all another question, and we'll start bringing up call-ins. Why would you say? So I imagine we all can agree that there has been popularity in the right in more recent years, especially with men, and then you could even put black men in that. Agreed?
For sure.
Okay. All right, so I'll ask the question, why has it become so popular? And I guess I'll put in like the next question, is it the idea of self-determination? I'll toss it into the air.
Can you say the question one time? Why has what become so popular?
Why has the right become so popular with men, even specifically black men? And is it the idea of self-determination? You could agree, disagree. Well, I think Trey wanted to get it, and then G, we'll go to you, then Kofi.
Just real quick, I think it's just mainly because of Trump. Because again, if it was like a Mitch McConnell or a what's the guy from Florida that nobody likes,
DeSantis?
or
Ted Cruz.
DeSantis,
Tick. Yeah.
maybe
That's it.
Cruz, but DeSantis, who's who I was thinking about, or Tim Scott, or any of these regular Republicans.
Are you saying so? He made a more populist movement.
Yeah, Trump made it a more populist movement versus the standard old guys from the Republican Party, the standard classic, Chads from like those guys. If they were at the helm, we wouldn't see black people even, but we would have stayed on the Democrat plantation. And I think that, and also a combination of the Democrats moving so far left, like this isn't our grandparents' Democratic Party with some of their policies. And I think the way that they kind of there's not really a place for straight, masculine black men in the Democrat Party because we always see them crying on the news and everything like that, and the rainbow stuff. So I think the combination of those two things is what is the cause.
Gotcha. So really quickly, fellas, we're gonna try and keep responses 2 minutes and under. Look like we got about 20 minutes left, and we might have look like 3 in the back end. So
I'll be short and sweet.
Okay.
I think that statement, I don't know if I agree with it because I think they're saying that in the media because Democrats need so much of the black vote to be successful. So to say that it's like so popular, I would push back on, and we'll know in another week here for sure. But I say that to say, 82% of black men that voted for Hillary Clinton. And then 80% of black men that voted for Biden. So they claim that was such a huge drop off. They went from 82 to 80%. I'd be very, very surprised if that number is if it's lower than 75% of black men that vote for Kamala, I will be shocked. Is my point here.
Well, that's what I think they're pushing the idea that it might get to like 65 to 70, somewhere inside that range.
I gotta see it to believe it. Believe it. Yeah, because I don't think that's going to happen in reality. I just think that the media is overhyping Democrats losing black voters, but a lot of those black voters are getting lost not to the Republican Party. They're actually becoming independents and not switching sides, to vote opposite sides. So we'll see how it all plays out. But I still think that 3 out of 4 black men are going to end up voting for Kamala on election day.
Got you.
And that will be reflective of this panel.
We need to bet, bro. We put some money on before it's too late. That'd be interesting.
Okay, Kofi, on you.
Repeat the question one more time. I want to make sure I have a complete understanding of it before I answer it.
Okay, hold on. Give me 1 second. All right. So why has the right become so popular? And is it the idea of self-determination that is kind of that gets pushed within like the party? Not saying that that's true or false, but the idea of it. Again, we want to keep it within 2. I'm about to start bringing up panelists or bringing up call-ins. But yeah, Kofi, on you.
Not sure about self-determination. I don't know what that would mean, but from what I'm looking at,
has it become more popular?
More popular. The reason why I think it's become more popular with if it's true with more black people, because I feel the opposite of what G is saying, where the media is saying, well, you have a huge voting block of Republicans, of black people that are switching Republican via independent. If you say, well, hey, look, they're just going to sit it out, then I guess that's believable. But they're overhyping that, they're done with the Democratic Party, so they're going to the right, I think is being over exaggerated. But the reason why I feel that if that's true with the answer to the question, I feel is due to you have black people that are just pretty much one issue voters, probably if that's the case. Low information about the candidates and what they represent or who they are. If you're a black person and and you trying to vote for your interests as well as your people, right? And they're probably just a bunch of fucking coons. in my
Gotcha.
view. Via these people back there.
Gotcha.
So that's
Have
it.
you throwing a coon tag on Time and Soul? But
Hell yeah! Are you
no
talking
worries. No,
crazy?
we'll give it.
You a fan of Thomas Sowell
Hey,
too?
huh?
Oh, you a fan of Thomas Sowell?
Me?
I would no.
Q.
He's talking to me. I don't throw the tune. I don't throw the coon tag on him. But nonetheless,
you like him?
Which one of them niggas is Tom and Soul?
He's right behind him. To my right there.
In the
I
middle.
don't think I know what he be talking about.
Yeah,
I didn't know who he was.
He has a.
I don't know who he was 2-3 years ago. You listen to that nigga. He's an economist, so he's good when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
His coolness starts reflecting when he starts talking about how black people are. So he will negate a lot of like racial, social injustices and issues. He's like, pull yourself up by the straps, nigga, shut up. Let me go on with my white wife. That's the type of nigga he is.
I think that could be a representative of him, but I think that there's a bunch of different things. I'm not super versed in Thomas Sowell, but I have heard him make interesting points that are for black people. Like I forget with the whole he's made like I don't know, like he'll make like different versions of like cultural conversations, and where he'll make the point that like sometimes I don't know, like he made it was a study of black. We can get into this another day. It's not even a reason to open up this full can of worm where we have people sitting here and waiting. But this is the after show conversation. We'll hop into it there. But nonetheless, we have For the Family. My brother, you got 2 minutes. Talk to us.
Peace to the family, man. I think this was a very interesting conversation.
Yes, sir.
Peace, man.
This Caribbean try to see. This is how now they be projecting. He said they don't have no culture, so I guess that's why we don't have no culture.
We want to make sure we stay on topic.
I get it.
What y'all do?
Caribbeans ain't have no culture though, so I think it's projection on us. You know what I'm talking about? He just admitted that we the only ones with culture, really.
All right, so now let's you got that off. Let's go to whether it's your problem with conservatives in the right or just anywhere else we've taken the conversation.
I think my people finally waking up. Let me ask you this question, if I may. Use my time to ask you a question. Do you think it's going to be more of us voting or more immigrants like him voting?
More of
my people don't care no more. We like, it's up, nigga. What you talking about? We don't care about this shit no more.
I get like it's hard. So when you say more of us voting, what do you mean by that? Like when you say
do you think it's going to be more black immigrants voting in this election as compared to us? I think we're going to try to see if it works out.
Are you talking about then black like
actual black Americans?
So we're talking about like FBA versus black immigrants.
It's not no FBA versus nothing. We're talking about okay.
Oh no, I thought that you were talking about like the number that it would be when it comes down to like voting. It's gonna be more. It's gonna be more black. I guess like FBA black people voting than Caribbean black people. If you're using that, it's not like the term of more black people voting independent or to the right. I also think that there will be more black people doing that this election also.
If anything, my people gonna vote for the red so they can try to get rid of these immigrants. They think that's gonna work. I don't think it's gonna work. But it's up, nigga, all the way around. You know.
Oh wait, so you said you don't believe that voting for the red is gonna actually impact immigration?
No, because they're both liars. Two birds of a feather.
That's fair.
You know what's going on, right?
Got you. No, I dig it. I there's no disagreements here.
I can't believe he said that about his people. Golly, that's crazy.
All right, so we're gonna bring up Camu. Talk to us, brother. 2 minutes.
Camu got them headphones.
Yeah, he do.
Yeah, let me hit you with this. Yeah, I think black people are asking relevant questions right now. I mean, I think you have learned from Obama that the black card, the race card is not gonna work. I firmly believe that Kamala is gonna have a hard time. It's not gonna be easy for her, and most black people are gonna go red this time. And Donald Trump might be a beneficiary of that. That doesn't mean that most people like him, or well, they might agree with his policy on immigration, but I mean, he's the lesser evil in black people's eyes, you know. Because Camilla doesn't speak to anything black, specifically black. So, I think conservatives are gonna have are gonna have a nice time this time around.
Gotcha. Hey, fat boy, I just seen you in the back end. Come on, hop back in. We need. I heard you ask for the call in link. Hop back in with us. But okay, got you, Kamu.
Copy and paste that link, fat boy. Copy and
Yeah,
paste that
that's
link.
it.
Just click
Just
that
copy and
link
paste
and you be good to go.
we gonna send we gonna bring another one up to the page. Another one the FBA zone. I think we got, what was it, 2 weeks ago? We got a quick little sneak peek. He let us see behind the curtain, then he turned that camera back off. We got we got TBI. With TBI. What's going on? How you feeling?
What's good, man? One of these days I'm gonna just leave it on, man. But
I dig it.
So no, I think people are waking up. Definitely a lot of black men are waking up and choosing to go the conservative route, because I think people are just seeing, I mean, it's been 60 years that we just been giving our vote to the Democrats and haven't got anything for it. We basically got people prioritized over us, even people that are not even citizens. So I think people are just like, all right, I had enough of this, man. Like, let's give the other side a try. And then some people are just sitting out. And I think that makes sense as well. Because I think when you talk about being independent, that's what independent is. It's like, hey, whatever is good for me at this moment in time, that's what I'm going to vote. But I think in the past, we just been, hey, whatever the Democrats, it doesn't matter what they say, we're going to vote for them because the right side said something racist. It's like the right side has been saying things, but they're both racist. Like the Dems have done a lot of racist things. Like I say, prioritize people over us that are not even legal in this country. Crime bills, all these things that they have done, and we just get caught up every time on somebody saying a racist joke or doing something that's mostly words and actions just to get a rise out of people, and not really looking at the actions of the Dems. So I think people are finally waking up, especially men, because men, of course, we all think with logic, but men, we have to be logical after a while and just look and see what's really going on and do what's best for us. So I think that's what's happening.
Yeah. No, and I guess like I think I think everything that you said was good. Only thing that I guess I would push back on would be the sit out the vote. So I was just having a conversation with my brother about this. I don't know, like last week. We in North Carolina, so it's a swing state. And my main thing is that like I don't like write in Harambe if you want to. But I do think representation would be positive. And I actually think that representation outside of like Democratic, like if you're not going to vote, I'd rather you just vote independent or vote third party. You can vote for Cornel West. So you can write in, G-ish podcast. But I think that there's power in knowing that there's existing black votes out there to get that's not specifically ascribed to anybody. In comparison, when you're a dormant voter, they just don't look like you. They act like you don't exist.
Right.
My other thing I also want to say that is being thrown around, which is right wing falsehoods, is basically saying that immigrants are voting. Only U.S. citizens are allowed to vote. So if you're a U.S. citizen, right, and if you disagree, you don't understand civics, especially if you're a grown-ass man. Immigrants are not allowed to.
Let's stay civil, fellas.
Only
you only got 7 minutes. Then y'all at the after show. Go ahead.
No. I mean, if I'm lying, I'm flying. immigrants on the
Legal
books.
immigrants and illegal immigrants vote. You know that, right?
Yes. So yeah, no.
You're still an immigrant, nigga. You're not us. Immigrants vote. The hell you talking about?
We,
Okay.
hey, fellas, we at the finish line. I was about to congratulate y'all for keeping it
Almost
civil.
there.
Ignoring him, man.
there.
I don't.
So when we
feed
can do
the
it,
bears,
we can do it.
I
I
don't
believe
feed
in
the
y'all.
bears or the crackheads. So
Kofi,
if you're
you
an
don't think
immigrant,
they're letting these
and
illegals
you're
over
a
here to
U.S.
fast track
citizen,
you?
Hey, at least
There
I
we
got
go.
culture.
All right, there we go.
Yep,
vote.
it happened.
If-
All right, fellas. So this would probably be a good time to kind of hit the
You want
wrap
to
up
wrap it
button.
up? Oh man, that's crazy.
I know for sure. Listen, we have the after show link. Well, we're gonna start a Patreon to make sure everybody gets this good conversation. I do want to make sure that we do keep it civil on the actual YouTubes at the
We
moment.
can. I mean, he come out crackhead. That's him. He always do this kind of weak stuff, man.
Again, I'm not saying who is what. All I'm saying is that
Man,
this
he
is probably
called
a good time to
9
hit the wrap
stones
up
and I
button.
didn't say anything.
Just because of we're getting into the uncivil side of it. So nonetheless, this has been a fire conversation when it comes down to the right, the conservatives, and some of our problems with it. We've addressed a lot of issues that we do have with the left. We also had a part one. Make sure that y'all go back and watch our part one to it.
Can I give you some pushback?
Sure. We got a couple minutes. Yes, sir.
Earlier, y'all was talking about this Chris Brown thing, right?
Thank you, bro. I was about to ask that.
And I never hear y'all talk about these domestic terrorists beating on their women. They had to march for them rights, not us.
Domestic terrorists beating on their women.
Yeah.
Who you talking about? When you say that, are you talking about like immigrants?
The crackers, yeah. The woman had to get their rights together.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I think that they be beating their
they
women.
known for smacking their bras up.
I'm
talking
right
about a man
so
protecting
for the
himself?
family, you think you think a man should smack a woman if a woman smacks her or smacks him?
I'm saying it's unfortunate, right? But it depends on how you've been raised. Like sometimes you can't just take abuse. A lot of niggas ain't used to abuse. They're not gonna deal with that. If you
So
got a
you
nigga
think
that been smacked up by his mama a lot, then he probably take them punches. But the nigga who ain't had to go through that, he like, what the hell? I'm not no.
So you condone it. You condone it is what you're saying.
I don't condone it. I don't condone, I don't like us beefing boy and girl like that, right? But shoot, when you step out your pocket, I mean, what you expect?
Gotcha.
That's all I was saying.
It's
Yeah.
logic, man.
All right, so this be something we can unpack a little bit later, but we do have I believe this might be a first time to the panel.
I don't condone it though, man. I know they weaker, man. I just I can understand it,
Well said.
Everybody
condoning this shit.
So I guess Fat Boy he hopped in and hopped out.
Yo, Q, let me ask you.
Maybe he caught a call. Again, we got like 3 minutes left. Yes, sir.
No, not big deal. So I know you're doing, you did Dems, you did Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
Are you planning to do a show about independence or third party? I think that would be interesting.
I'm not opposed to it. If as collective.
I mean, next week we gonna have the election will be done
day.
by this point next
week.
But
I say next week we'll probably actually push towards that, and we can probably like break down a little bit of what has happened. But again, I'm not opposed to having it. I feel like we might have had, or maybe that was a To Be Fair show where we've talked in depth about, the power of pushing for a third party, or if it makes sense at all. But I'm cool with doing that.
That third party talking about reparations. Niggas might jump on that.
Shout out to the
Yeah, we're gonna
have. But yeah, so I think that'll probably be like 2 to 3 weeks out though. But again, I'm not opposed to it.
Cool.
So nonetheless, we have G-ish Pod. You can find him at G-ish Pod. We have FBA Trey,
you
aka
think Cuff be trying to get intel?
Hold up. For the family, I got a rabbit, brother. We got FBA,
all right.
FBA Trey, aka David Walker, aka the group chat terrorist. We have Kofi. Catch him on his channel. I think he also has a pod that he does on Saturdays with his group of fellas. For the family, straight out of Detroit. He come about the last 30 minutes and talk his shit about every episode. Kamu straight out of South Africa. And TBI, sometimes he turn that camera on, sometimes he turn it off. But it's really quick. It's really quick. But nonetheless, this has been a episode of Unpacked. This has been a fun episode. I appreciate y'all. Make sure that y'all tap in. Peace. Good night.
Fat boy, don't leave.
Oh, damn, he was in.